Terrible news this evening from the national capital. A car explosion in the crowded area of a Red Fort, specifically near the Lal Killa metro station, was heard earlier this evening. The images from the spot are truly terrifying and bone chilling. We can bring up some of those images now. There were images of fires burning, mayhem, chaos on the streets, and we can now tell you that there are at least 8 people reported dead and 30 people are have been injured. These are the images that you're seeing in the immediate aftermath of those explosions. There is no official word yet on what or who has caused this explosion that led to a series of cars, 13, we are being told, catching fire. But we can tell you that the casualty figure right now stands at 8. There is a fear that that number could rise, and 30 people have been injured. Let me bring in strategic affairs analyst Sushant Serene as we continue to look at this developing story. Earlier this evening, the sound of a large explosion was heard inside a car in the crowded area of Red Fort. That led to several other cars, we're being told by official sources, 13 to be precise, also catching fire. There was more than one explosion heard, according to some eyewitness reports. You can see the immediate chaos and the fires burning all around, ripping through that crowded area near Gate 1 of the Lal Killa metro station. This has taken place on a day when the Delhi police and the J&K and Haryana police, in fact, in a joint operation, busted a multi-state or an interstate terror module. In fact, 2,900 kilograms of bomb-making ammonium nitrate was recovered from Faridabad, which is on the outskirts of Delhi, and 2 doctors from Jammu and Kashmir were arrested. Like I said, we do not have official a sort of analysis yet from the police, but this is what it was looking like at the scene of the explosion just a few moments ago. Sushant, as we await an official word from the police and want to be responsible here and wait for them to explain what's happened, your first thoughts? Again, I want to say, I don't know if it can't be a coincidence that we had a major announcement from the police talking about an interstate anti-terror module that wanted to target Delhi being busted just in the last few hours on the same day that this has happened. What are your first thoughts?
So, Barkha, when I first heard the news, and that was like just half an hour after it happened, I was wondering whether it is, one of those accidental blasts which happen in cars. Not blast, car goes up in flames, and then because if it's in a tightly packed area, then a couple of other cars will, also catch fire. But clearly, this is a bomb blast, right? I think it's a very high intensity blast, given the kind of casualties that have taken place and the way the debris from whatever the reports are coming out has spread. So quite clearly, it's a blast. Now, is it linked to the raids which were carried out in the morning? Now, the forensics guys will go, they'll examine what was the explosive which was used and whether it was similar to what they had seized in those raids, and whether they declared victory prematurely. Maybe they thought that they've got the entire cell and they can go public, and they missed out on somebody. And maybe the guys who carried out this blast, assuming it is linked to the seizures in the morning, they had a very clear choice: use it or lose it, and they decided to use it. So we don't know right now. I think we are just in the domain of speculation of what this is all about. If it is linked to the arrests that were carried out in the morning, then I hate to say this, but that's good news, because then because you got hold of some of the people alive and you have them in custody, you are in a better position to get to the bottom of this. Who are the people who planned it? Who are the guys who are behind it? Who are pulling the strings, and from where? If it is from across the border, then all bets are off. We don't know what the hell is going to happen after that. I doubt if this was just some local cell, some few guys who got indoctrinated and suddenly decided to take to terrorism. I doubt if that is the case. It has to have some kind of linkage with some established terror group, quite clearly, because it's not such an easy thing to manufacture or rig together a vehicle-borne ID, or use ammonium nitrate and then make it into a bomb. It's not such a simple thing to do. Otherwise, every second idiot would be doing it. So clearly, you need some degree of expertise for something like this. And the fact that these guys had some pretty sophisticated weapons, they were not using katas or country-made weapons, suggests that there was something much more to it, including the fact that one of the reports that I was reading today about the morning raids was that some of the weapons which were seized had actually come through drone drops from across the Rajasthan border. So we'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, we are in a world where information moves very fast, and everybody is hungry for information. But
Yeah.
I would imagine that this is again a kind of a test case whether we have learned anything from the past such incidents, and whether the security agencies and the government in general are able to get everybody together and have a single point for dissemination of information. Because loose lips sink ships, and
Yeah.
in this they help terrorists. So I think it is important that people, because I was seeing, the fire department chief started talking to, what is the reason? Why do you want to talk to journalists right now? You have a PR guy, don't you? Let him talk to the journalists. Why should the head of the fire department be talking to somebody? And what is the great information he's going to be sharing? So this is something which I don't know. We've said it so many times in the past. It's very frustrating. uh,
Yeah.
Government people need, and especially people in critical services, they need to learn how information is to be handled, to whom it has to be disseminated. Just because, Barka, you are a rock star of a journalist, you call somebody up, uh,
Yeah.
shouldn't take your call. He's not authorized to speak to you. It should be a single point from where information has to be disseminated. I'm sure you will get very angry at whoever refuses to give you information, but that's the way it has to be handled. That's the way it's handled the world over. So I would imagine that let's see what comes out of the investigation, but it's very early right now to speculate, or to say with some degree of certainty as to who exactly is behind it, what exactly is the explosive used, whether
Yeah.
there is a connection to the morning seizures, or this is a completely different cell. And that is eminently possible that it could be a number of other characters who are working separately from each other. So one cell has been apprehended and another cell has decided that it's going to carry out its grisly task, and we don't know whether this is the end of it or there is
It's
more to follow.
certainly it's certainly being treated as a suspected terror attack. As you said, it has all. If it was a CNG explosion, which was my first thought as well, like yours, it could not have caused the scale of damage. Somebody I spoke to on background said that there is fear that the casualties are much higher than eight. Some of the videos I've seen are too graphic to be actually shown or broadcast, but you can actually see mangled bodies. You can see a body that's been thrown on the bonnet of a car from the force or the impact of the explosion. Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken with the police commissioner, and teams from the NSG and the NIA and the forensic department have been rushed to the spot. So I don't think the government is treating this anymore as any kind of CNG explosion. I think it's quite clear that it's being treated as a terrorist attack, even though those words have not officially been uttered yet by anybody in authority.
Barkha, but just another thing, as a country, our leaders need to be more responsible. I was hearing people like Akhilesh Yadav saying that this seizure has been done to keeping in mind the Bihar election. You've got to be really have taken leave of your senses to say something as ridiculous as that. Now, how will he explain this particular explosion? The point is that you arrest people when you think that you've got the whole cell, and you arrest them, and you don't delay it. You don't let them carry out a bomb explosion before you start arresting people. So I really wish, I have no problems in, people doing their politics, and politics has reached ridiculous levels right now. But saying the kind of stuff these guys say, they should be ashamed of themselves. The kind of, conspiracy theories these guys weave. I don't know how they are going to explain that. I know how the Pakis are going to explain. They are going to link it to tomorrow's polling in Bihar and say this is a false flag attack. Assholes like Najam
Mm.
Sethi will say stuff like that. These bloody low-life pigs will say stuff like that. But why should people be talking like that? So I would seriously think that, political leaders, they are one fine day they are going to be responsible for running a state administration. Some of them have had dubious records on how they've handled terrorism cases, but one assumes that if you're going to be an elected representative of the people of India, your primary responsibility is the security of people of India, and you will discharge that honorably and honestly. So
Yeah.
making these kind of remarks, I really think it's quite shameless of them to make,
Yeah,
to
I want to talk about this anti-terror module that was busted in just a moment. We have an eyewitness account. This is, just citizens, residents. Remember, A, Red Fort is an extremely crowded area. B, this took place near a major metro station, Gate 1 of the Lal Killa metro station. It has all the markings of classic sort of terror targeting, if I may say so. You look for a crowded bazaar, you look for a place where there is public transport that is in use. I want to just play the statement out very quickly. This is the first eyewitness account coming from the site of what was seen when this explosion set off, creating mayhem and fires in the area. Take a look.
सर हम वहाँ फिर आगे गए नहीं, इसलिए हम फौरन इधर ही दूरी खड़े हो गए। यहाँ पे हमने देखा, सबसे पहले हमने फेफड़ा देखा, वहाँ पड़ा, हमने लगा कि ऐसी होगा। फिर हमने सर को यहाँ पे एसएचओ को बताया हमने कि यहाँ पे सर ये गोश्त पड़ा हुआ है यहाँ पर। उसके बाद हमें लगा कि ऐसी होगा गोश्त, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर हमने हाथ देखा, हम तो खुद शॉक्ड हो गए कि मतलब बयान नहीं कर सकते इस चीज़ को।
Now, it is horrific. The man is describing seeing a body part, a hand. And I have seen personally, as I said, some of these videos, mangled bodies on the streets between cars that are burning, a man's body thrown by the force of the explosion. There it is. We should probably blur it a little more, thrown on the bonnet of the car. It is horrific. I don't think we can say that this is a CNG explosion. I think it is evident that the city of Delhi, that the country of India, the state of India has been targeted. It's been targeted in the middle of election season. And there are certain, Sushant, you know this better than me, but it's been many years since we've seen this kind of terror attack targeting a major Indian city. But the attempt is always the same, right? Crowded bazaar, sensitive time, election. So on the eve of voting, you try and polarize. You try and do it near public transport. The poor always get hit the hardest. I mean, we've seen these patterns. So, everything you're seeing, do you link it to the anti-terror module that was busted, 2 J&K doctors taken into custody, hundreds of kilos of bomb-making explosives recovered from them, automatic rifles recovered from them, a joint operation of Haryana and the Jammu and Kashmir police. All of this took place in Faridabad. The press conference was just this morning, and the police said that the aim of these terror modules was to target Delhi, and a few hours later, this is what we're looking at.
So, Barka, my own sense is that it could not be possible that, the cops busted this module in the last 2 or 3 days, and rounded up everybody, and this was the end of the matter. I would imagine, and I personally, I might be wrong, but I don't buy that story that they saw somebody sticking posters, and then in a very Bollywood filmy style, they tracked the guy down, and then one thing led to another. I would imagine some of it must be true, but some of it would have involved a lot of good intelligence work to put together the pieces of this particular module and this particular conspiracy and crack down on them, which means that this must have been happening for some time, which also means that they probably had a fix on many of these guys earlier. Look, and again, I don't have all the information right now, so a lot of what I'm saying is speculation. If, for example, you announced this particular raids, you publicized it, you went, you held a
Yeah.
press conference and showed all the visuals to the media and everybody prematurely without having covered this or busted this cell, investigated, and then announced it, then shame on the people who did this. Shame on them, because they did this prematurely, and this gave a chance to some of the modules. Because look, if you are talking about 3,000 odd kilograms of ammonium nitrate, which can
Yeah.
manufacture maybe 2 dozen bombs at least. If you're talking about that, how do we know that there wasn't more and which had not already been given to somebody or the other? It had already been distributed. So if you had not done the entire investigation, closed the entire case, rounded up all the people, and you announced this because some guy wanted it to show his mug on television so that his wife and kids can say, I saw Papa on TV. And there's a lot of this which happens in government service. They just love to see themselves on television, little realizing that nobody remembers them 15 minutes later. But they love to, boast about it. So if something like that has happened, then I think heads should roll. If, however, they had carried out all the investigation, rounded up whomever they had rounded up, and come to the conclusion that they busted the cell completely, then something has slipped from the cracks. And somebody who was fearing that eventually he might also get caught has decided that it is the time to blow this bomb up. Otherwise, you'll lose it. So use it or lose it, right?
Yeah.
Something like that must have happened. Now, we don't know whether this was only one person who had this kind of stuff, or in the next couple of days, we might see a couple of more such cases. We don't know all of that. So all we can do right now, given, we just have snatches of information which we are trying to piece together to make some sense of what the hell's happening. I would imagine this is how things are panning out. I don't think that the cops would have been so irresponsible as to, prematurely announce victory. That's the most stupid thing anybody can do. I hope, this is the last of that particular cell. But I also think that because we have caught hold of 2 or 3 people, I think two doctors and another 5 or 7 people in Kashmir have been arrested, which means that you will be able to interrogate them and get a lot more information, which otherwise you would not have been able to if it was a completely blind kind of an attack. So yes, there is some silver lining behind this attack, but I can't say that to the people who've lost their lives or the people who have got injured, which is quite tragic. Because, like you said, many of them would probably be very poor people just trying to eke out an existence, living. And if some family has lost their breadwinner, I think that's a terrible tragedy to befall anybody. So yeah, it's terribly sad for people who have suffered this, but at least there is this, that we hope that we can get to the bottom of this particular conspiracy, and then go after the perpetrators, no matter what the cost.
I have a question on what might happen now, because according to you, this bears the signs of a sophisticated terror module, right? Even if in the last moments of desperation, because the module was partly busted, maybe not completely busted, they've lashed out. We have the Prime Minister's statement. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm told either the Prime Minister has made a comment. I can't see the Prime Minister. If you have something, please bring it up on screen. All right. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken stock of the situation. This is what the government has said just now. In the wake of the blast in Delhi, he's spoken to Home Minister Amit Shah. He's taken an update. Sorry, I thought the Prime Minister had issued a statement, but this is the detail we have. I was just going to play out the police commissioner's statement for you, Sushant, and after that, I want to talk about what might happen now. I think it's safe to say that that this is being treated at the highest level as a terror attack, and I'm just going to play out the police commissioner and come right back.
आज करीब 6:52 पे एक यहाँ पे रेड लाइट पे एक स्लो मूविंग व्हीकल जो रेड लाइट की तरफ आके रुका था, उसमें एक ये एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है। उस वक्त गाड़ी के अंदर जो पैसेंजर्स उसके अंदर ही थे और इस एक्सप्लोजन से जो है आसपास की गाड़ियों में भी क्षति हुई। जैसे ही इसकी खबर मिली हम सारी एजेंसीज जो है दिल्ली पुलिस, FSL, NIA, NSG उनकी टीम्स यहाँ पे आ चुकी हैं और हालात का जायजा भी ले रही है। हर तरीके से इस जो है एक्सप्लोजन के बारे में जांच की जा रही है और जल्दी ही इसका आकलन करके इसका जो भी रिजल्ट निकलेगा वो आपको बताया जाएगा। इस इंसिडेंट में कुछ लोग को इंजरीज भी आई हैं और कुछ लोगों की डेथ भी हुई है, तो वो अभी हालात का जायजा लिया जा रहा है और एग्जैक्ट फिगर्स जो हैं आपको कुछ ही देर में बता दी जाएंगी और सिचुएशन को रेगुलरली मॉनिटर किया जा रहा है और गृह मंत्री जी भी जो है उनसे रेगुलरली उनका फ़ोन भी आया था, उनको रेगुलरली ब्रीफ किया जा रहा है और उनको टाइम टू टाइम पूरी सूचना दी जा रही है और आगे जैसे भी हालात होंगे जो भी नतीजा निकलेगा आपको बताया जाएगा। अभी इसको आकलन किया जा रहा है।
Okay, the police commissioner is not sharing many details there, which is understandable. They need their time to make their assessment, but we can tell you that at least 8 people have died, 30 are injured. Several injured have been brought to a major hospital in Delhi, the LNGP hospital. Officials are saying that the death toll is expected to be higher. Unfortunately, tragically, the Prime Minister has taken stock of the situation. The Home Minister has spoken with the police commissioner. Teams of the National Security Guard and the National Investigative Agency, the NIA, the NSG, along with forensic teams, are at the site of the explosion, what is being loosely called the Delhi car blast. There are some eyewitnesses, Sushant, that are talking about 2 back-to-back explosions. We don't have official confirmation of that yet. Again, I want your sense. What happens now? I mean, the first thing, we just went through a few months ago, Pahalgam and then Operation Sindoor. While Jammu and Kashmir has often borne witness to terror attacks, it's been several years since the city of Delhi, this is the capital, has been targeted by explosions, by bombs. I'm saying it, though no one has officially said it in this manner. What now?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't see if there is any kind of an indication that there was a Pakistani group behind it. I think we are looking at a very, very dangerous spiral again. And this time around, it's very clear that we are not going to distinguish between the state and non-state actors, or the so-called non-state actors in Pakistan, because those non-state actors are actually state actors. They work in conjunction with and with the complicity of the Pakistani state. It is very clear that terrorists have been doing the rounds with the support and sanction of Asim, Munir and the rest of the bunch. So quite clearly, we will have to notch it up a few degrees, and then what follows from that, who can tell? And clearly this time around, I don't think we are going to be in the mood to listen to that clown Trump because of how he has behaved and how he has emboldened and encouraged Pakistan. So quite clearly, we are in a very, very entering into a very, very dangerous phase, and I don't see, on that side, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, except for the fact now there is something of a commitment trap as well, as far as the government is concerned. It will have to do something about this because clearly, if the Pakistanis think that they can continue doing what they are doing and get away with it, then I don't see how that's going to be acceptable to anybody in India. So yes, I think it's a very, very dangerous stage that we have reached.
And what struck you, from the beginning of this evening when you first saw the images and like everybody else thought it's a CNG explosion, and then saw the scale and the intensity of the damage? A CNG explosion can cause one car to go on fire, maybe another car, or a rickshaw standing close by, or so on. PTI now reporting that this is a high intensity explosion. Again, I want to remind our audience who may not know this, just this morning, a joint operation of the Haryana and J&K police said that they had recovered up to 2,900 kilograms of bomb-making ammonium nitrate. 2 Jammu and Kashmir doctors were taken into custody. An automatic rifle was also recovered from them. There was a press conference by the police. In fact, I think we have that earlier statement. Could we play that out? And then I want to come right back to you, Sushant. And Sushant, by the way, I know you're on a tight schedule, so stay as long as you can, hop off when you need to. But just I want to play out this police statement from earlier in the day, because they virtually said that they had busted this module and the target was Delhi. So it's eerie that this has happened a few hours later, or maybe not. Maybe it's directly connected. Take a look.
जैसे ये पिछले कुछ दिनों से फरीदाबाद पुलिस, हरियाणा पुलिस और J&K पुलिस का एक जॉइंट ऑपरेशन जारी था और ये अभी भी जारी है। मैं ये बताना चाहूँगा, ऑपरेशन अभी भी जारी है, जिसके अंतर्गत एक एंटी टेरर मॉड्यूल पे काम करते हुए हमारी दोनों की जॉइंट टीम ने यहाँ पे जो है काम किया, जिसके अंदर एक एक्यूज को पहले यहाँ से पकड़ा गया था जिसका नाम है डॉक्टर मुजम्मल, और इस पे आगे कार्रवाई करते हुए जो है कल जो है रेड्स की गई, और जिसमें रेड्स के दौरान यहाँ पे लगभग 360 kg के आसपास इन्फ्लेमेबल मटेरियल है जो कि संभावित अमोनियम नाइट्रेट है। मैं क्लियर करना चाहूंगा कि इट इज नॉट RDX। मैं इस बात को क्लियर करूंगा क्योंकि कई जगह ये चल रहा है, तो मैं क्लियर करना चाहूंगा इट्स नॉट RDX। तो ये इन्फ्लेमेबल मटेरियल है। इसके अलावा कई और ऐसा सामान जो टेरर एक्टिविटीज में जिनका संभावित इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है, जैसे टाइमर्स, लगभग 20 टाइमर्स विद बैटरीज 4, और इसके अलावा कुछ अन्य सामान है जो है यहाँ बरामद किया गया है। साथ साथ ही जो है जो फायर आर्म्स में एक कैरन कॉप राइफल with 3 magazines and 83 live rounds, एक पिस्टल with 8 live rounds, 2 empty cartridges और 2 additional magazines है जो इनसे जो है रिकवरी की गई है। और इसके अंदर जो है अभी जो है कार्रवाई जो है दोनों की हमारी जॉइंट पुलिस की कार्रवाई जो है जारी है।
सर एक AK-56 भी मिली है, AK-56 भी मिली है?
नहीं, इट्स नॉट AK-56 जो है, इट इज कैरन कॉप असॉल्ट राइफल।
सर ये यहाँ क्या करता था आरोपी जो पकड़ा गया?
ये यहाँ पे जो है ये यूनिवर्सिटी में जो है पढ़ाता था।
सर मुजम्मिल को कब पकड़ा गया?
कौन सी यूनिवर्सिटी? जी यहाँ पे तो हाँ, ही वाज वर्किंग इन अल-फलाह यूनिवर्सिटी। बाकी मैं आपको जो है बहुत सारी ऑपरेशनल डिटेल्स हैं, मैं आपको ये कहूंगा कि ऑपरेशंस हमारा जारी है, तो ऑपरेशंस को ध्यान में रखते हुए बहुत सारी ऑपरेशनल डिटेल्स हैं जिन्हें मैं इस समय भी नहीं बता सकता।
जो आप बता सकते हैं वो बता सकते हैं। कितना समय पहले आया था
ये लगभग जो है यहाँ पे ये सारा ये पिछले 15 दिन से एक हमारा जॉइंट ऑपरेशन चल रहा था, तो उसी जॉइंट ऑपरेशन के अंतर्गत ये कार्रवाई की गई है।
Okay, some of those details are very specific. I need to make a correction. I said AK-47. He said it's not an AK-47. It's an assault rifle. It's not RDX. It's bomb-making explosive ammonium nitrate. That said, he was very, very specific about the module being busted, the Jammu and Kashmir link, and so on. What did you think when you heard that press conference in the morning, and now that this has happened?
Look, now that I look back, because I don't take their press conferences very seriously. But if the guy says that the operations are still on, if the operations are still on, then why the hell were you in a rush to declare victory and announce that you have, busted this particular cell? What were you trying to do? Trying to give them the warning कि अच्छा भाई अगर कोई बचा है तो go ahead and do what you want to do. But somebody should think these things through, right? Once you've rounded up all the fellows, then it is one thing for somebody to come and, show his mug on the TV. But if you have not done it, why are you coming prematurely and saying that this is all we have done? For what? So, this is something I've never understood about the governments in India and about civil servants in India or uncivil servants in India. This voyeurism which is there, this quest for publicity all the time. If you want to do publicity, become a news anchor. Okay, become on television, right? You'll get a lot of publicity. Become a page 3 star.
Yeah,
you're in serious business, right? You're dealing with the lives of people, and for somebody to come and show his mug on TV so that he gets his 10 minutes of fame, I don't know. It's never made sense to me. I hope I'm wrong on this. I'll be happy to be proven wrong.
You believe that if it was an ongoing operation, the police should not have spoken when they did. They should have waited for everything to be complete.
Exactly, because why would you want to tell everybody that we busted this thing and announcing that who all you have apprehended from where all, which obviously means that somebody got spooked and said, okay, fine, we have to use it or lose it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. And that is, of course, I'm assuming that this particular explosion is linked to the seizures in the morning, but it's too much of a coincidence, isn't it? That you catch hold of this huge cell which has this huge amount of explosive, and suddenly you have a bomb blast in the evening. Of course, we'll have to wait and see whether the chemicals are the same, the explosive which was used is the same. They said that we recovered some timers and all. I'm sure the forensics guys will be able to get some idea of what exactly was the timing mechanism used.
Does this look like an IED set blast to you?
Everything is an idea, Barkha. Anything which is
No.
rigged together.
No, I'm saying if there was a terrorist hypothetically who's thinking use it or lose it, it could even be someone ready to kill themselves and kill others, right? We don't know. We simply don't know because
You're talking about a suicide guy, right?
I mean, could be or no.
I don't know because from the reports is that this vehicle was parked and then it blew up. So if you're using timer devices, then why would you necessarily use a suicide bomber? But I'm not ruling it out. I don't think anybody can rule out anything at this point in time. But if such a high intensity explosion takes place, maybe you will recover some parts of, if it was indeed a suicide bomber. But it is possible that it wasn't, and it is possible that there were these guys who decided कि ठीक है हमारे पास तो you make the bombs and you start distributing them to the guys who are supposed to carry it out, and maybe there was a larger plot to carry out, something like what happened in Jaipur and Ahmedabad and other places in the past when you had the Indian Mujahideen characters, multiple blasts in the same city. Now in this case, you've probably rigged together a couple and you've sent it to people, and the rest had been caught. So you decided that before the guys who've been caught start shucking up all the information, you might as well go ahead and do what you were tasked to do. So I suppose that is what I sense would have happened.
Yeah, and we're seeing a video right now of an injured man covered in blood, being escorted by another person. Just a last thought before you hop off. What would you be looking to hear from the government at this point? We're still awaiting official word. The police commissioner's bite was very sort of preliminary. What would you be looking to hear right now from the government?
I would want them. I don't think I want them to give a running commentary on what they have found and what they are likely to find and who they are blaming and who the finger of suspicion is. I wish they would give whatever is the basic minimum information which is required to be given, and then work on the other aspects of this particular case, and then give a proper detail afternoon or evening when they have a lot more information which they can share safely without compromising the case or the integrity of the case, and share information from a single source. Anybody who speaks unauthorizedly to anybody in the press or anyone else needs to lose his job, because it's about time we decide how we are going to manage the information and ensure that information is shared in a way that it does not compromise anything. Unfortunately, we are not known for doing that because we all love our own voice. So I hope we've learned something.
Yeah, and the need for strategic communication, cohesive communication is a lesson that we certainly should have learned this year in the immediate aftermath of Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor. Thank you, Sushant. I know you need to go, so we let you go now. Thank you for helping us make sense of this horrific explosion that has taken place. Thanks, Sushant. If you have just joined us, at least 8 people have died, 30 are injured. There's a fear that those numbers, those casualty figures will rise further. This after a car blast explosion took place in the crowded area of Red Fort, specifically near Gate 1 of the Lal Killa metro station. This is being treated quite clearly as a terror attack by the highest levels of government. The Prime Minister has taken stock of the situation. He has spoken with Home Minister Amit Shah. Home Minister Amit Shah, in turn, has spoken with the Delhi Police Commissioner. What we do know is that the explosion took place inside of a car. And then the fire from that car set a number of other cars. We're told about 13 cars on fire. There was mayhem, there was chaos. People tried to run to safety. Some of the videos from the site are truly horrific. One video I saw showed a man being hurled on the bonnet of a car, simply carried there or hurled there by the force of the explosion. In another, you can see a man covered in blood trying to limp his way out to safety. And let's start as we look at this horrific situation that is unfolding in a national capital, show you from the site what is actually happening. Like I said, in the immediate aftermath of this blast, there was chaos, people running to safety, fire, bodies being hurled, mangled cars, and I'm afraid mangled bodies, images that are too graphic to show on screen. But let's take you to the site now and give you a sense of what happened there. Take a look. Could we have the sound up, please?
ये लाइव चांदनी चौक की लाल भाई आप ऐसा करो, उधर की तरफ को चले जाओ भाई। आप भाई उधर हॉस्पिटल पड़ेगा, इधर मत जाओ, आप उधर से आप उधर को इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। जब किया गया है स्थिति में बड़ा एंगल हो चुका है कि आखिर किन वजहों से जो है फिलहाल ये ब्लास्ट हुआ है, इसके कारण क्या है।
So you can see there images that are almost too difficult to see. Those are vehicle parts. You can see the charred vehicular sort of, remains, as it were, of the explosion. Car bits, literally cars that have been blown to bits. I think that is the accurate way to describe it. And as I said, I have personally seen some videos that are too graphic to actually show or share with you. In one of these, you can see a body just lying mangled between burning cars. In another, you can see the body of a man hurled onto the bonnet. In another, the video on your screen, you can actually see somebody covered in blood. We're protecting his identity, which is why the videos are a little bit hazy, in case you're wondering. He's trying to limp his way out to safety. You can see actually clouds of smoke and orange fire, up to a kind of kilometer away in the distance. And let me play out for you the details that we have from the police commissioner. this is not very specific, and there may be a reason for that. But let's first take a look at what Delhi's police commissioner had to say on who or what caused this blast and what we know so far.
आज करीब 6:52 पे एक यहाँ पे रेड लाइट पे एक स्लो मूविंग व्हीकल जो रेड लाइट की तरफ आके रुका था, उसमें एक ये एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है। उस वक्त गाड़ी के अंदर जो पैसेंजर्स उसके अंदर ही थे, और इस एक्सप्लोजन से जो है आसपास की गाड़ियों में भी क्षति हुई। जैसे ही इसकी खबर मिली, हम सारी एजेंसीज जो है, दिल्ली पुलिस, FSL, NIA, NSG, उनकी टीम्स यहाँ पे आ चुकी हैं और हालात का जायजा भी ले रही है। हर तरीके से इस जो है एक्सप्लोजन के बारे में जांच की जा रही है और जल्दी ही इसका आकलन करके इसका जो भी रिजल्ट निकलेगा वो आपको बताया जाएगा। इस इंसिडेंट में कुछ लोग को इंजरीज भी आई हैं और कुछ लोगों की डेथ भी हुई है, तो वो अभी हालात का जायजा लिया जा रहा है और एग्जैक्ट फिगर्स जो हैं आपको कुछ ही देर में बता दी जाएंगी। और सिचुएशन को रेगुलरली मॉनिटर किया जा रहा है और गृह मंत्री जी भी जो है उनसे रेगुलरली उनका फ़ोन भी आया था, उनको रेगुलरली ब्रीफ किया जा रहा है और उनको टाइम टू टाइम पूरी सूचना दी जा रही है और आगे जैसे भी हालात होंगे, जो भी नतीजा निकलेगा आपको बताया जाएगा। अभी इसको आकलन किया जा रहा है।
So you can hear reporters asking Delhi's police commissioner whether it was an IED explosion, whether he can confirm the number of deaths. He said that is still being ascertained. The figure we have as of now is at least 8 people have died. 30 have been injured. Several other injured have been brought to hospitals in Delhi. The police commissioner there also confirming that the Home Minister has been regularly monitoring the situation in conversations with the police commissioner. We know that the Prime Minister has spoken to the Home Minister. We also know that the government is clearly treating and responding to this as a terror attack. Those two words have not officially been spoken yet by the police or by the government, but the fact is that the police commissioner, they're confirming that the Home Minister is monitoring the situation personally, and that teams of the NSG and the NIA are at the site along with forensic teams. They will ascertain how this explosion was set off in a car. Was there more than one car bomb? What is also important to say is that this has taken place on the same day as an anti-terror module. In fact, an interstate anti-terror module was busted in a joint operation by the Jammu and Kashmir police and the Haryana police. And in announcing the busting of that module, the police actually revealed that hundreds of kilos of bomb-making ammonium nitrate explosives were recovered along with an assault rifle. A Jammu and Kashmir doctor was taken into custody. Is there a direct link between the busting of that module and what has happened now? We also have reactions coming in from major political leaders. Rahul Gandhi says the news of the car explosion is extremely heartbreaking and concerning. The report of the deaths of several innocent people is profoundly sorrowful. I stand with the bereaved families who have lost their loved ones. I hope for the swift recovery of all injured. That is Rahul Gandhi's comment on social media platform X. But I want to go back to the fact that what you're seeing on your screen, this has taken place near the metro station, Gate 1 metro station of Lal Killa, the Red Fort, an extremely crowded area at peak hours. That's also important. Designed clearly to cause maximum damage. There is a bone-chilling eyewitness statement, if we can play that out again, of a man who basically says that he saw the hand of a body, as dismembered bodies have been found. That gives you the scale of the horror that has unfolded in the national capital this evening. I want to play out that eyewitness account and then also play out for you what was said by the police earlier this morning. But first, the eyewitness account.
सर, हम वहाँ फिर आगे गए नहीं, इसलिए हम फौरन इधर ही दूरी खड़े हो गए। यहाँ पे हमने देखा, सबसे पहले हमने फेफड़ा देखा, वहाँ पड़ा, हमने लगा कि ऐसी होगा। फिर हमने सर को यहाँ पे SHO को बताया हमने कि यहाँ पे सर ये गोश्त पड़ा हुआ है यहाँ पर। उसके बाद हमें लगा कि ऐसी होगा गोश्त, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर हमने हाथ देखा, हम तो खुद शॉक्ड हो गए कि मतलब बयान नहीं कर सकते इस चीज़ को।
So he's basically, the gentleman there is obviously in shock, and he's talking about dismembered bodies, body parts, a hand outstretched to think of it, maybe a hand outstretched in help. The video you're seeing on your screen, in fact, can we play it up with the sound up if possible? It's an injured person trying to get away. Could we have the sound up?
करो उधर की तरफ को चले जाओ भाई आप भाई उधर हॉस्पिटल पड़ेगा इधर मत जाओ आप उधर से आप उधर को निकल जाओगे
Let's play it again.
भाई आप ऐसा करो उधर की तरफ को चले जाओ भाई आप भाई उधर हॉस्पिटल पड़ेगा इधर मत जाओ आप इधर से आप उधर को निकल जाओगे
All right, horrific images from the site of the explosion, an injured man being directed to somehow head towards a hospital. Military veteran, Lieutenant General Atta Hasnan is with us, the former general officer commanding of the 15 Corps. Thank you, General Hasnan. It is a grim moment to have you with us. I was talking earlier to Sushant Sareen, and like me, he too, when he first heard the news of the explosion, thought, as some of us did, oh, maybe it's a CNG explosion. And then soon you started seeing the scale of what was unfolding. We are told 13 cars that were charred or blown to bits. I have personally seen a video of a man hurled onto the bonnet of another car by the force of the explosion. Dismembered bodies being reported by eyewitnesses, at least 8 dead, and officials saying those numbers are likely to be higher. 30 injured, many injured in the hospital right now. The two words terror attack have not yet been officially used by anybody, but it is clear that the explosion is being treated at the highest levels of government as a terror attack. The Prime Minister has taken stock. The Home Minister has spoken with the Police Commissioner, and the NSG, the NIA, and forensic teams are at the site. General Hassan, your first thoughts, sir?
Well, firstly, Barkha, my deep regrets. Any casualties in our environment, any loss of lives is always regretful. But having said that, I was readying myself to actually appear on another television show to speak about the discovery of these various explosives and weapons, etc., in the Faridabad case,
exactly
linked to Anantnag with some doctors, etc. And I was just making up my mind on what to say on that. And what I was really coming down to was that most people think a terrorist act just takes place without anything else. It's always a part of an ecosystem. That is what we have to remember. That there is a vast ecosystem of overground workers which is there, despite the fact that we have eliminated so many hundreds of terrorists, but this ecosystem continues to persist. And that is something very difficult to root out. It can happen anywhere in the country. Delhi, we've been very fortunate that Delhi has been kept safe for very long. And any of our adversaries who are looking for a major effect, a dampener on India's morale, the dampener on India's enthusiasm for, all our progress, etc., that we are looking, the aspirational aspects, any one of them will always look at Delhi's capital. You remember 13th of December when it happened on the Parliament of India, how deeply it affected India, hitting India's democracy at that time. Once again, the effort is probably being carried out to affect us, our morale, our aspirations. And you have already said so very clearly that no one has mentioned the word terror act so far. But the broad presumption from the nature of the incident, the nature of the events which are being reported appears to be so. I too was initially taken in, and my own control room at the NDMA was telling me that this is a CNG blast, most likely, which has happened. But CNG blasts do not have this kind of an effect. This is, of course, something much more. But of course, the investigations are being carried out, and I'm sure soon we will come to know what really is the nature of the act which has happened.
And I think it's so important that you mention that this explosion has taken place on the same day that the police announced that they had busted a major anti-terror module. In fact, they called it an interstate terror module. They said that they had recovered hundreds of kilos of bomb-making explosives. A Jammu and Kashmir doctor had been taken into custody. This happened in Faridabad, which is on the outskirts of the national capital. And assault rifle was also recovered, and the police actually said that the target was Delhi. And then this happens, and unfortunately we're getting news of climbing casualties. 10 people are now reported to have died, 30 have been injured. There is fear that those numbers could rise more. As you said, you were getting ready to talk about that anti-terror module having been busted, and then this happens, and clearly the intensity, the scale fits in with terrorism, though nobody has used that word yet. It is being treated, at least by government, in the way that it's responding, with forensic teams and NSG and NIA at the spot. I want you to talk about whether you think that the police announcement in the morning, and I'll play out that statement of what the police said in a moment, and what's happened is connected. Some other analysts have suggested that perhaps there were parts of the terror module that hadn't been completely busted, and they then felt that they had to use it or lose it. And so they were driven into this immediate response because their game plan had been exposed. I don't know what you think of that theory.
Good question, Barkar, no doubt. Let me start by mentioning that since 26/11, the Indian intelligence agencies have kept the rest of India. Jammu and Kashmir is the different issue. Pathankot was also, on the periphery itself when it happened in 2015. For the better part of the last 17 years, the intelligence agencies of India have kept India safe. We all keep hearing third or fourth page in the media, print media, you normally find some kind of an innocuous news of the busting of a module somewhere, etc. If that same module had been successful, it would have made headlines. But it's obviously then pushed into the third or the fourth page because it's just an intelligence input and something which has been recovered, etc. Now, what people have to remember always is that although we have a very effective intelligence system, our intelligence services are very good, but yet determined terrorists, determined ecosystem of terrorists can always get past. And persistence, if the networks are there with persistence, somewhere or the other, they will make a dent. I think this is exactly what has happened here, where they got the information, they got the intelligence, they managed to bust this module to some extent. But as I said, modules are large. The networks are, all kinds of rungs within networks. You may bust one element of the network, but not the entire network. So that is probably what has happened. One part of the network has been busted and another part has immediately responded, reacted. If that is what has...
Is that your...
If this even
Sushant was making that point, that he said that the fact that there was this very public revelation of this anti-terror module could mean that there were other operatives in that module who then felt that they now had to react because, this was their last chance. And that takes us to a question of whether this is, I heard a reporter asking the police commissioner, is this an IED? I was asking Sushant, considering the module has been busted and there have been arrests made, could it be a suicide bomber? But it looks more like a classic IED explosion. You set it off in a car, in a crowded area, near a mode of public transport, hitting the poorest people, the most, and on the eve of a major election in India. As you rightly pointed out, General Hassain, for those of us who are old enough to remember, there was a time when this used to happen with frequency. We have seen Zaveri Bazaar in Mumbai. We have seen our own Greater Kailash market or markets like that in Delhi. We have seen other markets in Varanasi. We have seen this, the targeting of a crowded, highly densely populated bazaar. And we're seeing it after a very, very long time. But do you believe, therefore, that there is some connection between the module busted and what has happened, or do you believe that it's pure coincidence? It can't be a coincidence, can it?
I do not believe it's a coincidence. The fact that this was revealed, and since yesterday this was coming out, this information, and it's happened this evening. Obviously, it is some kind of a knee-jerk reaction which has probably happened. Also, leading to the fact that this is probably a terrorist act, and we don't know, it's still a conjecture. The use of a eco van, Maruti eco van. Now, from my experience, I can tell you almost every act where you've had a car bomb has always had a Maruti van. One of the vehicles which is, first of all, very cheap to buy second-hand anywhere. And secondly, terrorists, if they get into it's a vehicle in which it is very easy to get away or to actually make an entry somewhere. If you really go into the details of how these terrorist acts take place. So the moment I heard that there's a Maruti van and eco van which has been involved in it, that made my suspicion a little more evident on this, to say that yes, possibly it is some kind of a terror act. But you are absolutely right. We have seen Sarojini Nagar and we have seen all kinds of actions which have happened prior to 2008. 2008 was the last major one which happened in Mumbai. Thereafter, somehow, we've been able to keep the rest of most of India safe, except that it's been happening repeatedly in Jammu and Kashmir. As to the issue of an IED, well, this is a classic case. IED can be just placed inside a Maruti van. If it's a classic car bomb, car bomb can be disastrous. It could, you know what's happened in the case of Pulwama, for example. 300 kgs of explosives probably used in something like that. Here, this seems to be a smaller thing, which is last-minute effort or something of that kind, wherein a smaller IED has been placed inside and a single vehicle has been able to ignite many other vehicles nearby. But obviously, it seems to be the act of an IED.
Yeah. And in fact, the police commissioner confirmed what you said about the use of the eco van. It happened at 6:52 p.m. He said a slow-moving vehicle stopped at a red light. An explosion happened in that vehicle, and due to the explosion, nearby vehicles were also damaged, right? There were initially, journalists and some reporting that there were 2 car bombs, but it seems that 1 car bomb triggers the rest of the damage. That is, and the car stops at a red light, which also seems deliberate, because then there will be a row of cars behind you who have also stopped at the red light.
Absolutely. But as to whether this was a suicide bombing, is something which will take a long time to perhaps determine. It's not easy to immediately determine. And the history of suicide bombing in India isn't something which is it's not happened so often here. Even in the entire campaign in Jammu and Kashmir, all these years, we've just had about 4 or 5 incidents of suicide bombing, if you remember, on the gates of the Badami Bagh and inside on the assembly, in the assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, also on a bus moving to Baramulla, an army bus which is moving to Baramulla, and then ultimately what happened with the Pulwama incident. So there have not been too many. Suicide terrorism is of a different kind. Suicide terrorism of terrorists breaking into a camp and then fighting to the last. That is what is essentially suicide terrorism. But suicide bombing is the one where terrorists tend to wear the vests, explosive vests, or tie IEDs around them and that kind of a thing. That has been comparatively much rarer in India.
Let me play out the police commissioner's statement, sir. And I want to play out 2 statements from the police. One of the police commissioner very early on telling us what's happened. And then the second statement is on the module that was busted. But first, let's listen to Delhi Police Commissioner at the site talking about what happened.
आज करीब 6:52 पे एक यहाँ पे रेड लाइट पे एक स्लो मूविंग व्हीकल जो रेड लाइट की तरफ आके रुका था, उसमें एक ये एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है। उस वक्त गाड़ी के अंदर जो पैसेंजर्स उसके अंदर ही थे, और इस एक्सप्लोजन से जो है आसपास की गाड़ियों में भी क्षति हुई। जैसे ही इसकी खबर मिली, हम सारी एजेंसीज जो है, दिल्ली पुलिस, FSL, NIA, NSG, उनकी टीम्स यहाँ पे आ चुकी हैं और हालात का जायजा भी ले रही है। हर तरीके से इस जो है एक्सप्लोजन के बारे में जांच की जा रही है और जल्दी ही इसका आकलन करके इसका जो भी रिजल्ट निकलेगा वो आपको बताया जाएगा। इस इंसिडेंट में कुछ लोग को इंजरीज भी आई हैं और कुछ लोगों की डेथ भी हुई है। तो वो अभी हालात का जायजा लिया जा रहा है और एग्जैक्ट फिगर्स जो हैं आपको कुछ ही देर में बता दी जाएंगी। और सिचुएशन को रेगुलरली मॉनिटर किया जा रहा है और गृह मंत्री जी भी जो है उनसे रेगुलरली उनका फ़ोन भी आया था, उनको रेगुलरली ब्रीफ किया जा रहा है और उनको टाइम टू टाइम पूरी सूचना दी जा रही है और आगे जैसे भी हालात होंगे, जो भी नतीजा निकलेगा आपको बताया जाएगा।
जैसे ये पिछले कुछ दिनों से फरीदाबाद पुलिस, हरियाणा पुलिस और J&K पुलिस का एक जॉइंट ऑपरेशन जारी था और ये अभी भी जारी है। मैं ये बताना चाहूँगा, ऑपरेशन अभी भी जारी है, जिसके अंतर्गत एक एंटी टेरर मॉड्यूल पे काम करते हुए हमारी दोनों की जॉइंट टीम ने यहाँ पे जो है काम किया, जिसके अंदर एक एक्यूज को पहले यहाँ से पकड़ा गया था जिसका नाम है डॉक्टर मुजम्मल, और इस पे आगे कार्रवाई करते हुए जो है कल जो है रेड्स की गई और जिसमें रेड्स के दौरान यहाँ पे लगभग 360 kg के आसपास इन्फ्लेमेबल मटेरियल है जो कि संभावित अमोनियम नाइट्रेट है। मैं क्लियर करना चाहूंगा कि इट इज नॉट RDX। मैं इस बात को क्लियर करूंगा क्योंकि कई जगह ये चल रहा है, तो मैं क्लियर करना चाहूंगा इट्स नॉट RDX। तो ये इन्फ्लेमेबल मटेरियल है। इसके अलावा कई और ऐसा सामान जो टेरर एक्टिविटीज में जिनका संभावित इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है, जैसे टाइमर्स, लगभग 20 टाइमर्स विद बैटरीज 4, और इसके अलावा कुछ अन्य सामान है जो है यहाँ बरामद किया गया है। साथ साथ ही जो है जो फायर आर्म्स में एक कैरन कॉप राइफल with 3 magazines and 83 live rounds, एक पिस्टल विद 8 लाइव राउंड्स, 2 empty cartridges और 2 एडिशनल मैगजीन्स हैं जो इनसे जो है रिकवरी की गई है। और इसके अंदर जो है अभी जो है कार्रवाई जो है दोनों की हमारी ज्वाइंट पुलिस की कार्रवाई जो है जारी है।
सर एक AK-56 भी मिली है, AK-56 भी मिली है?
नहीं, इट्स नॉट AK-56 जो है, इट इज कैरन कॉप असॉल्ट राइफल।
सर ये यहाँ क्या करता था आरोपी जो पकड़ा गया?
ये यहाँ पे जो है ये यूनिवर्सिटी में जो है पढ़ाता था।
सर मुजम्मिल को कब पकड़ा गया?
कौन सी जी यहाँ पे जो, हाँ, ही वाज वर्किंग इन अल-फलाह यूनिवर्सिटी। बाकी मैं आपको जो है बहुत सारी ऑपरेशनल डिटेल्स हैं, मैं आपको ये कहूंगा कि ऑपरेशंस हमारा जारी है, तो ऑपरेशंस को ध्यान में रखते हुए बहुत सारी ऑपरेशनल डिटेल्स हैं जिन्हें मैं इस समय भी नहीं बता सकता।
जो आप बता सकते हैं वो बता सकते। कितना समय पहले आता था यहाँ पे?
ये लगभग जो है यहाँ पे ये सारा ये पिछले 15 दिन से एक हमारा जॉइंट ऑपरेशन चल रहा था, तो उसी जॉइंट ऑपरेशन के अंतर्गत ये कार्रवाई की गई है।
So the important thing there, General Hassan, is that they say it's an ongoing operation. He says certain details are operational. This is the police in the morning talking about the anti-terror module. I cannot share everything. I can confirm to you it was an RDX, it was ammonium nitrate, it was an assault rifle that was recovered. There is a certain Muzammil from Jammu and Kashmir. He's been taken into custody and we have been at this operation for the last 15 days. Now, clearly it seems that the revelation or the going public, you know, and Sushant Sareen was saying maybe they shouldn't have gone public, maybe they went public too early, maybe they should have waited for the operation to be complete. I don't know. I will defer to experts on this. This is what Sushant said. Maybe they shouldn't have gone public. Maybe that's what triggered some missing element, you know, that hadn't been caught yet or hadn't been busted yet of this module to basically say, I'm going to use or lose it, whatever, I have to do this now. Maybe timelines got advanced. We don't know. I'm just wondering what goes through your head when you listen to the police statement in the light of this horrific blast where 10 people have been killed.
See, Barkha, when you hear the police making these kind of statements, obviously they have thought this through, right? And they generally tend to look at it from one angle, that if they don't come clean at that time or at the limited information to the public, then rumors are going to spread. And rumor mongering is the worst thing in this case. All kinds of stories and narratives, etc., will build up. And when something happens at the end, then there will be a lot of blame to be put on the police at that particular time. Yes. So I think the police was absolutely very efficient, very correct and focused. They have done their duty. They've gone and busted this. This operation has been going on for 15 days, as they say. And I think at a very relevant time, they have gone transparent and given a limited amount of information. Now, this does not necessarily mean that is the reason why a terror act has particularly happened, right? I mean, that as a terror act, we still are conjecturing whether it is a terror act at all. So I think it may be premature for us to conclude anything about that.
But sir, if it's not a terror attack, what is it? Yeah, the point, I mean, I was very careful. I spent literally so much time not saying that this is to be treated as a terror attack, but I am befuddled. If this is not a terror attack, what is it? And why do you think the police hasn't come out and said so yet? I mean, we're still waiting. I suppose they're in the throes of right now relief and rescue and, gathering evidence.
You see, Barkha, in these kind of incidents, there is a degree of finality which has to be achieved.
Yes.
No one wants to make premature statements, because going public with something as serious as this doesn't have implications for Red Fort or for Delhi. This has got implications for the entire country, this kind
That's
of a
right.
thing. So obviously
Yes.
they're going to be very, very careful on this. As I told you in the beginning, both you and I were both conjecturing that this is probably some kind of a CNG or an LPG or some kind of a blast of that kind, right?
Yeah.
And that can't be really ruled out. I mean, they would like to rule it out. Technically, they want to make sure that they are correct. And I think legally also, the police is taking absolutely the right track at the moment.
Yeah, I want to play out. My colleague Madan is at the site. He spoke with an ambulance worker. These are voices coming from the ground. One eyewitness describing seeing dismembered bodies, an outstretched arm and hand. Some videos far too graphic to show. But these are eyewitnesses speaking to my colleague from the ground.
क्या नाम है भैया आपका?
मेरा गुलशाद।
आपने देखा कब बम ब्लास्ट हुआ?
ये 6:55 पे हुआ है जी।
अच्छा, क्या देखा आपने? कितने लोग की इंजर्ड हुए हैं?
इंजर्ड तो अभी 5 से 6 लोग जो लोकनायक हॉस्पिटल जा चुके हैं, और अभी कुछ इस पे आइडिया बताया नहीं जा रहा कि इधर है भी या नहीं है। वो तो टीम बताएगी उनकी रेस्क्यू टीम की। और आग तो 5-6 गाड़ियों में लगी हुई थी। फायर ब्रिगेड आके उन्होंने आग पे काबू कर लिया।
लोकनायक हॉस्पिटल में ले जाए?
जी हाँ, जो भी इंजर्ड हुए हैं वो लोकनायक हॉस्पिटल ही गए हुए हैं।
अच्छा, आपने जो बॉडी पार्ट्स कलेक्ट किए, कितने बॉडी पार्ट्स होंगे करीब?
पार्ट तो बहुत काफ़ी सारे। नहीं, मैं मेडिकल टीम से हूँ।
हाँ,
मेडिकल टीम से।
आपने देखा ब्लास्ट?
जिस वक्त आप आए थे, जब आपको बुलाया गया, तो आपके सामने क्या नज़ारा क्या था?
बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट हो चुका था जब हम आए थे, तो आग तो लगी हुई थी। बाकी ये फायर ब्रिगेड वगैरह जो है आग पे काबू कर रही थी। 4 से 5 गाड़ियों पे आग लगी हुई थी।
लोग कितने थे, कुछ अंदाजा ऐसा लग पाएगा?
लोग तो ऐसे जो इंजर्ड हुए हैं वो तकरीबन 7 से 8 तो जा चुके हैं हॉस्पिटल में। बाकी सबके टुकड़े तो इधर उधर पड़े हैं। कुछ गाड़ियों में भी रखे हैं, अभी एम्बुलेंस में रखे हैं, और बाकी अभी बता नहीं सकते इधर सबके टुकड़े हैं या सब हैं या नहीं है।
कितने लोग, क्या लग रहा है, कितने लोग?
एम्बुलेंस जो हमारी एम्बुलेंसें थी तो तकरीबन 50 एम्बुलेंसें आई हुई हैं, 50 से 60 एम्बुलेंसें आई हुई हैं, और उसमें 5, 6, 7 एम्बुलेंसें जो लेके गई हैं पेशेंट को, जो इंजर्ड हुए थे उनको।
अच्छा भैया, आपने भी कोई बॉडी पार्ट्स अपने हाथ से उठाए?
हाँ, गाड़ी में रखे हैं, मैंने खुद रखे हैं, एम्बुलेंस में रखे हुए हैं।
कितनी बॉडी रखा है?
नहीं, बॉडी नहीं रखी, बॉडी के सब रखे हैं। बॉडी पार्ट्स तो होंगे कम से कम 2 किलो के आसपास, 2 kg के आसपास अभी गाड़ी में रखे हुए हैं।
छोटे छोटे से लेके बड़े बड़े?
छोटे छोटे से बड़े बड़े, बोन्स वाले और ये जो मांसपेशी वाले, वो सब थे उसमें, मल्टीपल टाइप से।
अच्छा, क्या आप लोगों का कोई अंदाजा है कि कितने लोग का हुआ? क्योंकि हॉस्पिटल में भी आपने लोगों को जाते हुए
अंदाजा तो वहाँ हॉस्पिटल में तो 6 से 7 गए हुए हैं।
6 से 7 वो ठीक होने वाली हालत में है, क्रिटिकल है उनका
क्रिटिकल हैं। हो सकता है जान बचेगी, किसी की नहीं बचेगी, वो हम नहीं बता सकते, वो डॉक्टर ही बताएंगे वहाँ पे। हमारा जो काम था वो ट्रांसपोर्ट करने का।
जैसे भैया आपके जैसे और कितने लोग हैं जो बॉडी पार्ट्स वगैरह कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे?
बहुत सारी टीमें, मैं बताता हूँ आपको, 50 से 60 एम्बुलेंस हैं। वो सब मतलब हमारी टीम ही है, मेडिकल टीम। किसी को भी जो मिलेगा वो अपनी एम्बुलेंस में रख के पहुँचाएंगे वहाँ पे।
अच्छा, ये सब जो एम्बुलेंस लगाई,
हाँ,
बॉडी पार्ट्स रखे हैं?
हाँ, कुछ एम्बुलेंस में बॉडी पार्ट रखे, कुछ ऐसे ही खड़ी हैं, और कुछ जो है पहुँचा चुकी हैं उसको, इंजर्ड हुए पब्लिक को। और इस साइड भी आप देखोगे, राइट साइड में बहुत सारी गाड़ियाँ खड़ी हैं, उस साइड भी, और आगे भी इधर भी खड़ी हैं, वो सामने देख सकते हो। 50 से 60 एम्बुलेंस आई।
Okay, General Hussain, very graphic details. That ambulance driver, they're talking about how he's having to collect different body parts. There are 50 to 60 ambulances at the site. He came, of course, after the explosion had happened. He's the first responder in terms of providing health services. Many injured are in hospital. I'm so sorry, but before I get your reaction, the Home Minister has spoken, and I must play that statement out, and then I'm coming right back to you. Let's take a look at Union Home Minister Amit Shah. This is the first top-level response from the government on this explosion. Let's listen in.
आज शाम करीब 7 बजे दिल्ली में लाल किले के पास सुभाष मार्ग ट्रैफिक सिग्नल पर I-20 हुंडई गाड़ी में एक ब्लास्ट हुआ है। ब्लास्ट के कारण आसपास की कुछ गाड़ियां और कुछ मार्ग पर जा रहे लोग भी इंजर्ड होने के समाचार हैं। प्राथमिक सूचना जो मिली है उसमें कुछ लोग हताहत भी हुए हैं। ब्लास्ट की सूचना आते ही 10 मिनट में दिल्ली क्राइम ब्रांच, दिल्ली स्पेशल ब्रांच की टीमें स्पॉट पर पहुंची है। एनएसजी और एनआईए की टीम एफएसएल के साथ अभी गहन जांच करने का शुरू किया है। आसपास के स्थान के सभी सीसीटीवी कैमरा और बाकी सब चीज़ों की जांच के आदेश दे दिए हैं। मेरी सीपी दिल्ली से भी बात हुई है, स्पेशल ब्रांच के इंचार्ज से भी बात हुई है। सीपी दिल्ली और स्पेशल ब्रांच के इंचार्ज स्पॉट पर मौजूद हैं। हम सभी संभावनाओं को तराश रहे हैं और सभी संभावनाओं को ध्यान में रखकर इसकी गहन जांच की जाएगी। सभी ऑप्शन की तुरंत जांच होकर नतीजा जो आएगा जांच हम जनता के सामने रखेंगे। मैं कुछ ही देर में स्पॉट पर भी जा रहा हूं और अस्पताल में भी मैं तुरंत जाऊंगा।
Okay, that's a very, very clear and specific statement. All possibilities and options are being investigated. When we have a conclusion, we will place it before the people of the country. Home Minister says he's headed to the site of the blast and also to the hospital where the injured are. I want you to talk about that last comment that the Home Minister made, that Sabhi Sambhavna, I'm paraphrasing in English, he said it in Hindi, all possibilities are being investigated. The moment that there is a kind of concrete prima facie conclusion, it will be placed before the people. He too did not use the phrase, there has been a terror attack. So I want you to comment on what the Home Minister said, how he articulated his reaction.
Barkha, if you remember, when we started this conversation, we too said the same thing. Exactly. Yes. And yes. When and as important a person as the Honorable Home Minister of India goes public, one expects that he will have, if he does not have the information, he will not conjecture. And that's exactly what Honorable Home Minister of India has done. He is not conjectured. He has just told you that all parameters are being looked into, and as and when something is available in a concrete terms, he will go public himself. So I think that's the best way of looking at it, because the more the rumor mongering and things of that nature, the possibilities of mistakes being made keep coming up. But I think at this time, people need to hold their horses. Let the government of India do its bit. And the Home Minister of India has assured everyone, I think we should just stand by that and abide by it.
Sir, you not just have fought and seen war and terrorism, you have also and continue to look at disaster management. At this point, there is a high security alert that has gone through airports, railway stations, major cities, sensitive spots. What would be on the minds of those who have to handle the aftermath? You see, there are 3 or 4 buckets of responses right now. There is the investigation, but there is also to make sure that if this was terror, if it was terror, and I choose my words carefully because there is no official statement on it yet, it bears the markings of it, but we will wait for the government to tell us that. What would the government, what would agencies right now be most concerned about?
See, Barkha, when this kind of an action takes place, this kind of an event takes place, the first thing I would always look at that is this a diversionary? Because in these kind of cases, a planner,
uses the car bomb as a decoy.
Exactly, it's used as a decoy. All the attention, all the focus, as he just now the boy was saying, 50 ambulances have reached there. The kind of hospitals are at the same time, agog with activity, and suddenly then start a series of things elsewhere. Now, this is what the security agencies have to be careful about. Right? Yeah. They have to make sure all their intelligence networks, their sources, everyone is on the alert at this particular time. In a city like Delhi, you can't survive without intelligence. The security of Delhi is through intelligence. And that's what I said right in the beginning. The intelligence agencies of India have kept India safe since 2008. And I hope and I pray that that is exactly what will continue to happen.
The images you see on your screen, and I'll come back to the diversionary for planning something more sinister point that you have flagged, but the images you're seeing on your screen are the Lal Killa metro station, and you can see shattered glass. This is where the entrance is to the metro station. You know, the choice of assuming this is deliberate, planned, whether diversionary or not, you take a place of mass public rapid transit, public transport, crowded at all times. The Red Fort, crowded at all times. You choose a time, which is the eve of an election, right? And you use a car, which is an I-20, by the way. I wonder if you heard Home Minister saying we were thinking it's an eco van. He said, that's what I heard him. That's what I heard him say. I think I heard him right. He said it's an I-20 car. So maybe they've had updated information since the police commissioner spoke. That happens because there would have been a lot of cars there burning, and maybe this is what the Home Minister said. What do you think of where they have, whoever this is, whatever this is, crowded Red Fort right next to a metro station?
6:55 in the evening.
Peak time.
Terrorist. This is terrorist time. Whoever chooses this kind of a thing. Anyone who's looking at Delhi knows 6 to 7 o'clock is peak traffic, peak congregation of people. Place like Red Fort, the metro station, the metro of Delhi, the amount of the density of population inside the metro itself, the people who are disgorging out from the station and getting inside the station at any time is huge. So obviously the effect is going to be very large, whoever has planned this out. Whether they intend to do something bigger, one can't say, still conjecture, as we are all talking about. But obviously it was, if it was a terrorist act, then obviously they have chosen this very carefully.
Yeah. When you saw these images, does it bring back a kind of deja vu of years gone by? As you said, the intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, government has kept the people of India safe. Jammu and Kashmir is different. It is a state which is torn by insurgency. But this since 26/11, I think this is the first major targeting of an Indian city of this kind that we're actually seeing. I have to ask you very cautiously, what happens now? And I don't want to hypothesize too much, but if this is established to be a terror attack, the Home Minister, by the way, is at a Loknayak hospital. Those images are on your screen. He's there to meet the injured. We do know that 30 people, maybe more, this is the figure we have, 30 people are injured, 10 have died. There is a fear that those casualty figures could rise because, again, as General Hassan was saying, peak evening traffic near a metro station in a crowded bazaar designed for maximum impact. The car stops at a red light, which means other cars behind it are forced into the sort of the flames of the explosion. Sir, if it is established to be a terror attack, we are in the year of Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor. I must ask this question with great responsibility. What now?
See, first of all, Barka, as far as other cities are concerned, after 26/11, the first part of your statement, the last time it happened was in Pune, in the German bakery.
That's right. That's right. So thank you for reminding me this.
We've been absolutely safe since then. Now, as to whether if this is a terrorist attack at all, then obviously I don't expect any knee-jerk reaction. The government of India is far too mature. The leadership of India is far too mature to do anything which is going to be rash. That I can assure you. They will think this through, and I think we should allow that time and that flexibility to the Indian leadership to allow this situation to build up correctly, get the right inputs. Intelligence agencies will be working overtime at this time, and once all the advisories are in, all the information is in, they will take their actions appropriately.
Let me ask you. I completely agree with you. I think it would be very irresponsible of us to force a reaction on, with so much missing information. I think, you know how this is done. What would be happening right now? Would a timeline be assembled? Would there be what would be happening at the site? What would forensic investigators, the NSG and the NIA, be looking for at the site right now with all your years of experience, General Hasnain?
I would say yes, that's exactly what you said. Forensic evidence at this time, bits and pieces of it. I hope that area is completely cordoned off. For some time it was not. Obviously, while the casualties were still there, that area could not be cordoned off. Once the casualties have been taken out, obviously that area completely gets cordoned, because all this is going to come out as evidence tomorrow. Legally, this area must remain in the hands of the police, all the investigative agencies. We got the NIA now, which is a very high quality kind of investigative agency. We didn't have it in 2611, if you remember, at that particular time. The NIA has been responsible for busting most of the networks inside Jammu and Kashmir. This is one thing which I can say with confidence, that as far as financial networks are concerned in Jammu and Kashmir, this is something which used to proliferate at most times. It is the NIA which was responsible for actually busting this and neutralizing it completely. And they are the ones who will be involved very deeply at the moment in these investigations.
Sir, I want to play out an eyewitness statement, and then I want you to tell us what your fear is. I want to talk a little bit about your diversionary. I have seen this as a reporter in J&K. The MO used to be that you do a car bomb, you have everybody run towards the car bomb, and then you do the bigger blast somewhere else. And I know that this red alert that has gone through the cities of so many cities, railway stations, the airport, all airports, that is exactly with that in mind. I want you to explain that to more people who haven't actually reported on terrorism and insurgency. What do you mean by diversionary?
See, I can take my experience back to Sri Lanka, from where I really learned the the beginnings of the IED. That's where the IED really came out of. And then in Kashmir. In Kashmir, one saw it very clearly in a particular case. I remember on the road between Ganderbal and Sonamarg, where at a particular culvert, a minor IED, not a very major IED, a minor IED, which did not cause too much of a damage as such, but our vehicle was damaged. Obviously, everyone rushed to it, because that's the first thought which goes, are there any casualties, etc. And then immediately, while people were rushing to it, on the road itself, on the tracks of that, there was a second IED. That was a much bigger IED. And that blasted off a gypsy. I remember three of our soldiers died in that. Now, this is something which is very typical. In the case of the Anantnag, if you remember the Khanabal attack of 13th of January, the Fidain attack which took place on headquarters 1 sector RR, similar thing which had happened. They had got into it, and they had planned ambushes all over the place to see that they knew that responses and reactions will come to that place. So this is something which terrorists always plan out. Do something one place, not very big maybe. Even if it is big, they know that there is going to be a tremendous amount of response to it. The response is the one that they want to target thereafter. And that is what you have to be careful about.
I want to play out an eyewitness statement. We're getting several eyewitness statements. What is being described is actually horrific. When a bomb or an explosion goes off, this explosion was clearly a high-intensity explosion, whatever it was or is. It threw bodies onto the bonnets of vehicles. It set cars on fire. One car the car in which the explosion was stopped at a red light. The Home Minister says it was an I-20. The cars behind then caught fire. And then you can see the people running, trying to get out of that somehow. Let me play out this eyewitness comment and come right back to General Hasnain.
मैडम, हमारा जो काम है हमारा प्राइवेट है, हमारी प्राइवेट एम्बुलेंस है, सरकारी एम्बुलेंस नहीं है हमारी जी। और हमें जैसे ही पता लगा यहाँ पर, हमारे को पुलिस वाले हमारे जो बीट गए उन्होंने हमें बताया कि वहाँ पर ऐसा ऐसा हादसा हो चुका है, यहाँ से गाड़ी हटाओ और वहाँ लेके जाओ। तो हमने जैसे ही सुना, हम सीधा गाड़ी वहाँ पर लेके पहुँचे अपनी, और वहाँ पे पहुँचे, हमें सिर्फ वहाँ पर बॉडी मिली है। हमें जो 4-5 बॉडियाँ मिली, हमारी 10-1 गाड़ियाँ वहाँ पर गई थी, लेकिन हमें 4-5 बॉडियाँ मिली। हमने बॉडियाँ उठाई और हम यहाँ पर लेकर आए बस।
आपने 4-5 बॉडीज
जी
जी। अब उनकी कंडीशन कैसी थी?
उनकी कंडीशन तो डेड बॉडी है मैडम, वो तो अलग अलग पार्ट्स में थी, उठा के उनको गाड़ी में रखा गया है और सीधा हॉस्पिटल।
कुछ इंजर्ड
नहीं नहीं नहीं, इंजर्ड कोई भी नहीं उसमें। नहीं नहीं, हमारी किसी से बात नहीं हुई। अभी हमारे स्ट्रेचर वगैरह सब अंदर ही है, बॉडी जो भी गई हुई है सारे हमारे स्ट्रेचर भी अंदर ही है गाड़ियों के। मैडम कॉल नहीं आई थी मेरे पास, मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ना, पुलिस वाले आए थे जो हमारी भीड़ के, उन्होंने बताया था, मैं उनसे पता लगा हमें और हम सीधा पहुंचे वहां पर।
It's let me get a last comment from you, but the testimonies that are coming from the ambulance workers, you know, the way they are describing how they have been collecting the bodies, body parts, the bodies blown to bits. You see, what's clear is that not just have several cars been blown to bits, several bodies have been blown to bits. And it is the unfortunate fact. I just want you to talk about what that tells us about the scale of the attack, but I have the statement from the Prime Minister, the first statement from the Prime Minister, so I must read that out. Condolences to those, could we have it on our screen, please? Condolences to those who have lost their loved ones in the blast in Delhi earlier this evening. May the injured recover at the earliest. Those affected are being assisted by authorities. Reviewed the situation with Home Minister Amit Shah Ji and other officials. This is the Prime Minister's statement. Both Prime Minister, Home Minister being very, very cautious. That's the Prime Minister's statement on the screen. Very cautious, very somber in how they articulate themselves. There's a lot, I think, in terms of information that is still being ascertained. And I think we won't see sort of more flamboyant statements or more big statements or more specific statements right now. I imagine a lot of information is needed. So your closing, I have two questions for you in your closing remarks. One, the way the ambulance workers are talking about the body parts, what does that tell you about the intensity of the explosion? And the other is the Prime Minister and the Home Minister's very, very cautious, very sober statements. What does that tell us in your experience?
Your second question first.
Yes.
Absolutely expected. And from someone as mature as our Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Home Minister, obviously they're not going to fall for populism at this particular time. Otherwise, you will find leaders of a different hue would probably be making all kinds of statements, aggressive statements, and this is election time. Those things could happen at this particular time, but you're seeing the kind of statements that they are making obviously show what a sense of responsibility that they are continuing to carry with them throughout, displaying it. And this is a model, actually. This is how leadership must always act in such situations. That's number one. Number two, as far as the ambulance workers are concerned, there are two parts to this question which I would like to answer.
Yeah.
One is, first of all, I think the fact that they're saying that they're all private workers, they're all private ambulance operators, you can see a sense of responsibility in the common man. That he has been told by his beat policeman that there's a requirement for you to go, and they have gone there, they picked up body parts, they brought them, and you can't even see a crease on their face at the moment. They are absolutely stayed in their composure and handling the situation marvelously. Absolutely, that's the typical Indian on the street, working in response to a crisis. I think an Indian face always comes out tops. Absolutely, that's one thing which I would always like to acknowledge. But coming to your question, obviously body parts. At one place, someone did say 2.5 to 3 kgs of body parts, but obviously there's much more. No, in this kind of a thing, I mean, from a very macabre kind of a angle, a lot of parts get burnt, so they are not available at all. So you really don't know as to what is the intensity, how many people have actually died. It's only when the proper forensics take place, then they can actually determine as to what is the final count in terms of casualties. But obviously, they have carried a fair number of people from here. And I think the initial reports which were coming were 8 fatalities. That should be the figure, probably going up to about 10, 12 maximum. I think that's the kind of figure we should be looking at.
Officially, we have 10 right now, and some fear that those numbers could climb a bit, is what we're being told.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a somber note, but as you said, Delhi has galvanized itself. You've seen private ambulance workers there rushing to help. 50 to 60 ambulances at the site. Both the Prime Minister and the Home Minister have reacted with caution and restraint and firmness. Restraint doesn't mean an absence of firmness. Home Minister has said all possibilities are being investigated. The word terror attack has still not been used by anybody in authority. Would it be fair to say that, General Hussain, that it is not
absolutely?
yet?
I think that's the right thing, as we have discussed. That still at the moment that we are discussing, there is still not enough evidence to point towards a particular terrorist attack. Most of this is conjecture based upon the joining the dots in today's events which have happened, with what happened in Faridabad and the connecting it up to Anantnag, the Kashmir networks, etc. So we can all conjecture on it. But as I said, if you are an authority, you will only speak with evidence.
All right, General Hussain, we let you go. It's late in the evening, and I'm sure you'll also want to make your own assessment of what's happened. Thank you very much. Learn a lot from you always. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. If you have just joined us, 10 people have died. Those numbers could be higher. 30 have been injured. Prime Minister, Home Minister, Defense Minister are reacting to an explosion that has taken place in a car in the national capital a little short of 7 p.m. earlier this evening in the very crowded Red Fort Lal Killa area. In fact, right next to Gate 1 of the Lal Killa metro station. As General Hussain was just saying, the choice of time, 6:52, 6:55, whatever it is, a couple of minutes after 6:50 is terrorist time. What he means by that is, though nobody, I should say, has used the phrase terror attack right now, if this was a terror attack, it was designed to cause maximum damage because this is peak traffic time. This is when people are taking the metro to go home. Also a hugely crowded area, the Chandni Chowk area, right next door to the Red Fort. And of course, office goers, people going home, taking that metro line, the Lal Killa metro station, the entry to it, also showing images of shattered glass. Eyewitnesses from the ground are describing horribly graphic accounts of what they have seen. Bodies being hurled onto bonnets, bodies burning, cars burning, people inside them probably burnt to death, bodies being dismembered, ambulance workers and eyewitnesses finding a hand here, a leg there. I know it's horrible to hear, but it also gives you some sense of the fact that this, initially it was thought to be a CNG explosion, but a CNG explosion cannot cause this scale of death and devastation. You can see images of ambulances there on the spot. I want to play out the Home Minister's statement just before he left for the hospital and for the site of the explosion. Take a look.
आज शाम करीब 7 बजे दिल्ली में लाल किले के पास सुभाष मार्ग ट्रैफिक सिग्नल पर I-20 हुंडई गाड़ी में एक ब्लास्ट हुआ है। ब्लास्ट के कारण आसपास की कुछ गाड़ियां और कुछ मार्ग पर जा रहे लोग भी इंजर्ड होने के समाचार हैं। प्राथमिक सूचना जो मिली है उसमें कुछ लोग हताहत भी हुए हैं। ब्लास्ट की सूचना आते ही 10 मिनट में दिल्ली क्राइम ब्रांच, दिल्ली स्पेशल ब्रांच की टीमें स्पॉट पर पहुंची है। एनएसजी और एनआईए की टीम एफएसएल के साथ अभी गहन जांच करने का शुरू किया है। आसपास के स्थान के सभी सीसीटीवी कैमरा और बाकी सब चीजों की जांच के आदेश दे दिए हैं। मेरी सीपी दिल्ली से भी बात हुई है, स्पेशल ब्रांच के इंचार्ज से भी बात हुई है। सीपी दिल्ली और स्पेशल ब्रांच के इंचार्ज स्पॉट पर मौजूद हैं। हम सभी संभावनाओं को तराश रहे हैं और सभी संभावनाओं को ध्यान में रखकर इसकी गहन जांच की जाएगी। सभी ऑप्शन की तुरंत जांच होकर नतीजा जो आएगा, जांच हम जनता के सामने रखेंगे। मैं कुछ ही देर में स्पॉट पर भी जा रहा हूं और अस्पताल में भी मैं तुरंत जाऊंगा।
Right. I want to bring up now our expert analyst, General Raj Shukla, who is with us, a military veteran, who's, of course, a security and strategic affairs expert. Good evening, sir. We join you at a grim hour. The latest information is that 10 people, at least 10 people have died, 30 are injured. Those numbers are expected, unfortunately, to climb. The Home Minister has met with the police commissioner. He's also met with the injured in the hospital. As he said there, he is headed to the site of the explosion. The Prime Minister has issued a statement offering condolences to those who have lost their lives. The important thing is that while initially everybody may have thought this was a CNG explosion, it is clearly a high-intensity explosion. We have seen images of bodies being hurled onto bonnets, cars mangled and charred, bodies mangled and charred, bodies dismembered. The government and the police have not yet used the phrase terror attack. For this, the Home Minister has said that all of the possibilities are being investigated, and when there is a clear answer to what this was, it will be placed before the public. Your thoughts, sir?
As you say, Barkha, first of all, deepest condolences to all those who have lost their loved ones in the tragedy, and also those who have been injured. May they recover as fast as possible. Of course, there has been no official confirmation about the terror angle. But if you just piece the events of the day, I mean, 3,000 kgs of explosives, 900 kgs of explosives, those 20 odd timers, assault rifles, pistols. It does seem that all this is part of a terror cell. Now, as terror plays out, the int agencies from some preliminary reports have been monitoring this terror cell for a while. And the skill or the trick, of course, is that when you're monitoring a terror cell, you don't pounce on it too soon. You delay it so that you get more and more people in your grasp. So I suspect that as it was being monitored and the police and the int agencies pounced on the terror cell, it had connections, Haryana, UP, J&K, and the usual stuff. They decided that, now that they are being nabbed, they must do something. So I see a connection between what's happened in Redford and the earlier events of the day. Now, of course, this is subject to greater scientific investigation. So you will have investigation of ballistics, the explosives there, CCTV cameras, and the whole picture has to be put together. So that's one part of it. The second issue, Barkha, is this, that, I think for the last decade or so, we did have a firm grip on terror. That was one of our, shall I say, major successes. If you see more than 10, 12 years back, there would be a blast like this in every city, and pretty often. Bangalore, Pune. Sometimes we don't realize that that has been a major success of the security state. There has been no blast in the hinterland for quite a while. Kashmir, of course, is a different matter. So, I mean, that good spell perhaps has come to an end. As an analyst, I have no doubt this is Asim Munir's, these are offerings of Asim Munir. It's a direct challenge. And we must also pay heed to the larger issues which I have been pointing out for some time on your channel, that, these attacks may not only be along our western borders, we must be very careful about our eastern borders. The Bangladesh, Myanmar angle, and Asim Munir and DG ISPR have made public statements that the next terror attack may come from the east. So I hope it's not terror back. But the events of the day do seem to suggest that there is a terror angle. Of course, and I'll underline this, of course, we'll wait for an official confirmation subject to further investigations. 20 vehicles got caught in this explosion. So it cannot be a gas cylinder blast.
Absolutely.
I have great doubts.
Are you surprised, though, that it hasn't yet been by the police of the government being called a terror attack? Or is this a learning in a way from Pahalgam, where when you say something, you want to supplement it in real time with some, I don't know, what do you make of the fact that there is such caution in the public articulation? Are these learnings of strategic communication?
I don't think it's caution. I think it's greater responsibility. When you're in
Yeah,
government,
okay.
you've got to be careful about your tongue.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
but so therefore, I think they'll be waiting for confirmations from forensics, ballistics. But some indications, some news reports suggest that the borders have been sealed and so on and so forth. So I think it's all concurrent. I think the government would be acting on the presumption of terror, but it will confirm it only when it has weightier evidence. And that is also, I think, the right way to go about these things.
You said, and of course, government, you can speak with greater freedom. You said piecing together the evidence, joining the dots. The morning starts with the police revealing that an interstate anti-terror module has been busted. 2,900 kilos of bomb-making ammonium nitrate has been recovered, along with an assault rifle. A Jammu and Kashmir doctor is taken into custody. In the evening, we have an explosion in a car in a crowded area at peak time near a metro station. I'm mentioning all these details because for those of us who've been old enough to cover terror attacks in cities, this is classic terror patterns. You look for the most crowded place, you place your bomb in a car, you may even sometimes use the car bomb as a diversionary tactic to strike in a bigger way elsewhere. You do it at a critical, sensitive time. There's an election, voting in Bihar tomorrow. These are classic moves of terrorists, for many of us who are old enough to have lived through those years when our cities were subject to these attacks. When you join those dots, Sushant Serene earlier on the channel was saying maybe the police should not have gone public with the fact that they had busted the module, because obviously some parts of the module were still operational, and they thought, if we don't do this now, it's over for us. So let's either use it or lose it. I'm quoting Sushant here. What do you think when you join the dots to the press conference in the morning and what's happened by the end of day?
Exactly. I mean, I quite agree with Sushant. I think what has happened that a greater tragedy has been foiled. Because
Explain that.
The explanation seems to be that the terror module, it was being monitored for a while. Some news reports in the morning said some 7 to 8 months. So you monitor these terror modules, you wait before you pounce on them so as to get a larger, the larger operatives in the OGWs and all into the net. So you'll be monitoring their communication movements. And then it's a matter of judgment and timing. Because if it is too late, then the act will occur. So sometimes before the act. So the police must have taken a call in the morning. And when the module got wind, when they were pounced upon, they perhaps said ki jo taiyari hai usko kar do, and this is part of the taiyari which has happened. This is a cat and mouse game. It is very difficult, and it's common sense, but let me highlight it that for every module or for every such attack or incident which happens, there are 100 successes which go unacknowledged. So many modules get they are busted before they mature. So it is between this maturation and the act. I mean, that is what all what intelligence is about. So I think the optimistic way of looking at it is that perhaps a greater tragedy was averted.
Now, General Shukla, the NSG, the NIA, forensic teams are at the site of the blast. Clearly, it is being treated as a terror attack, even though it hasn't officially been called one. My question to you is, what if you were in government right now and you were thinking, where should my attention be? One is the investigation. Who did this? How did they do it? Why did they do it? How do we respond? The other is, how do we ensure that nothing more happens elsewhere? So we've got a high alert at railway stations and airports. What would you be thinking? What are you most concerned about right now?
See, it's not a matter of getting concerned one fine evening. Terror is a long game. I mean, I'm not making light of what you're saying. I'm just trying to explain.
Yeah.
And before that, Barkha, let me point out, look at how diabolical it could have been. This area, this particular traffic signal crossing is pretty close to my house. What do you have here? Jama Masjid. I think the Jain Mandir, Red Fort, Metro Station. It could have been far deadlier. And I think
Correct.
today is a holiday, so the crowds may have been just that little thinner. So it could have been even more diabolical in design. And the larger issue is this. It is my hunch that this Op Trishul and before that the army chief statement, that one about what was it, geography and economy, that also I think was a reaction to some indications that something was being planned. So it is all kinds. Of course, you'll have you'll have the police in action. I think the military would be in higher states of readiness. The borders would have been sealed. And now we also must look east, because that is another area. I mean, what is left? You have the DGI side traveling, the Jamaat-e-Islami, the statements of Muhammad Yunus. They are open threats. And, it may be the wrong day to say so, but I am of the view that our eastern borders must be sealed somewhat in the manner of what we've done along the line of control. And perhaps we need a force also like the RR to guard that piece of territory so that we seal it. Otherwise, you may have infiltration from the east. So I'm saying both along our eastern, western horizons, the terror and national security challenges are growing. That's the sad reality.
Couple of very important points you've made. One is that there's several places of worship of different faiths close by, and that is also very classic terrorist playbook. We've seen it, the attempt to create religious polarization, religious targeting. We saw it in Pahalgam. We've seen it before. But you made a comment. You said, and I want to quote that back to you. You said, "I have no doubt that these are offerings of Asim Munir." Munir just got promoted in Pakistan. Why? I mean, firstly, no surprise that terror targeting in India links back to Pakistan. But you've been very specific. You've said Asim Munir. Explain this comment that you made.
I mean, who else? When these things happen, and if they have the sanction of officialdom in Pakistan, do we all not know what officialdom in Pakistan
No,
is?
of course.
And it is no secret that terror has been a part of their statecraft. It has been acknowledged on times without number by Musharraf, by so many others. Now, this is the whole issue, that when you get, shall we say, lace your statecraft with terror, these things will continue. And therefore, our response has to be firmer. It has to be preemptive. That is a reality. And not only, as I keep pointing out, Western horizons, Eastern horizons. So in sum, I mean, I've said this so many times, our national security challenges are growing. I posit, are they not as grave as Israel? You tell me. In my view, they are graver than Israel. So that is the sad reality. And all that time, let's see, the reactions that we saw from the police today are far better. So our game is improving in these. Within 10 minutes, all these teams were there. It is. It looks very organized, very thought through. But all terror attacks cannot be prevented. I think there was somebody. I read a book long back, the 1% doctrine, in the days of the 9/11 terror. They said if there is 1% chance of a terror attack happening, 99% it will. So no matter how many cells you bust, one or will go wrong.
I want to play out an eyewitness statement. Our colleagues are on the ground. My colleague Madan Lal sent this statement. Then I want to come back and get a quick couple of last comments from you, General Shukla. What happens next? Asim Munir's offering. The government has reset the security doctrine. In the context of that new security doctrine, if this is established to be a terror attack, if that is officially placed before the people of India, how might the government respond? I'll urge you to think over that question as we play out this statement sent by Madan Lal from the site of the explosion.
क्या नाम है आपका?
आकाश कश्यप नाम है सर मेरा।
अच्छा आकाश जी, जब ये यहाँ पे बम ब्लास्ट हुआ तो आपके?
जी बिल्कुल मैं यहीं पे था सर।
आप यहीं पे थे
जी।
कैसा बम ब्लास्ट था कितना
सर एक गाड़ी थी यहाँ पर और एग्जैक्ट गाड़ी का नाम मेरे को नहीं मॉडल पता है कि कौन सी गाड़ी थी। वो गाड़ी के अंदर ही ब्लास्ट हुआ है जिसके कारण और गाड़ियाँ भी उसकी चपेट में आ गई और मैं मंदिर से निकला ही था तो उस टाइम पे ये सीन हुआ था।
तो यहाँ पे कितने लोग की डेथ हुई?
थे लोग थे सर, यहाँ पे 20-30 लोग थे जो इसकी चपेट में आ गए, जिनको चोट वोट लग गई है। तो शायद उनको पास ही के हॉस्पिटल में लेके गए हुए हैं, LNJP हॉस्पिटल में। तो वहाँ से जो भी रिपोर्ट पता चलेगा।
और क्या आपने देखा यहाँ पर इस समय क्या?
अभी तो यहाँ पे 15 मिनट के अंदर पुलिस आ गई थी तो उन्होंने सब शांत करा दिया, नहीं तो हालत काफ़ी बिगड़ गए थे, भगदड़ मच गई थी यहाँ पे। बाकी अभी सिचुएशन कंट्रोल में है।
तो और यहाँ पे उस समय कितनी यहाँ पब्लिक थी?
लोग थे यहाँ पे 1500 लोग थे। भीड़ पूरा क्राउड था।
पूरा क्राउड था। वो गाड़ी क्या खड़ी थी या चल रही थी?
वो हल्की मूवमेंट कर रही थी, हल्के।
अच्छा, मूवमेंट कर रही थी। गाड़ी का कुछ नंबर था?
नहीं सर, मेरे को ध्यान नहीं है इतना, मैं उसके बिल्कुल करीब में नहीं था। मैंने दूर से ही वीडियो वगैरह बनाया था, बस मैं बिल्कुल उसके पास में नहीं था। तो और जिस टाइम पे ब्लास्ट हुआ तो मैं 100-150 मीटर वहाँ से दूर था। मंदिर यहाँ से गौरीशंकर मंदिर 100-150 मीटर दूरी पर है जहाँ पर मैन वो हुआ।
और क्या देखा आपने?
So it's interesting. He does talk about a mandir being 100-150 meter dur. He says he came out, this young eyewitness says he was praying. He came out of the temple and then he saw this. He also says there have been two versions, General Shukla, of the car. One is that it stopped at a red light. The other is it was a slow moving vehicle. Either way, what it was doing was, if it's slowing down, it's forcing the cars, the vehicles behind it, into its kabza, as it were, ensnaring them, so that when an IED potentially, possibly sets off this explosion, then all of the other vehicles behind it are caught up in that. But he does mention ki mandir tha, as you mentioned, Jama Masjid is right next door. There are many different places of worship. So that, and also I want to ask you, what now? Given the new security doctrine, given Operation Sindoor, if this is established to be a terror attack, the PM and Home Minister have not used that phrase yet. We will wait for them to officially respond. But if they do, if they say this was a terror attack, and you have no doubt, I think, that it is one, what next?
See, I have no doubt in the sense that, it is an analyst's assessment. I'm, of course, not privy to any inner doings. So in that sense, as an analyst, it does appear to me to be part of that terror module which got busted, and the fact it does point to being a terror attack. However, the government of the day will ascertain this way or that way. Now, what is our response? See, my interpretation of the doctrine is this. It not only signifies official policy, but also the public mood. What is your response? What is my response? My response is they should be hit back, whoever they are. So it's not only official policy, it's also the public mood. And if that be the case, may I also emphasize that the right to respond or not is a sovereign decision. It doesn't mean every attack we respond. We will choose the time and place of our choosing. So when people put this hypothetical question, ki bhai agar do log mare gaye, will you respond? Maybe not. If I were in office, I would not. But if, the government will ascertain who is behind this, and all governments have very sound ways of ascertaining. The next point that I make, now we'll not run around providing proof like we did in the past. So when we did provide proof, you took us for a ride. So once a responsible government ascertains as to where the attack has come from, we have the right to respond militarily. Every time, we will not. It is a sovereign decision. But what other options are there? So if I'm saying it will be a considered decision, firstly, you have to ascertain, you have to be certain, without providing proof. When the West says, give us proof, do you give us proof? Did you give us proof when you hit Soleimani or when you took out al-Zawahiri? You didn't give us proof. So when we ascertain liberally, we may ascertain it, after due investigation, we may share it with some people. And the right to response is a sovereign one. Because in international relations, who is the arbiter? You have to be your own arbiter.
But can I ask you something? You see, the gravity of a terror attack is not measured only in terms of the number of casualties. That is one benchmark. Sometimes targeting is symbolic. What's happened here is This is our capital, right? This is our capital. This is a major, it's happened near a major landmark. It's happened near public transport. This is classic. It used to happen, as you mentioned, 10 years ago. We have all seen this, reported on it, been in the middle of it. You have fought battles to counter it. How do you see, what is the message that, if this is an offering of Asim Munir, as you called it, what are they trying to do? This is the old sort of proxy war playbook.
I mean, see, that is what puzzles me. And this is what happens when militaries are not under political control. For example, the right to respond in the case of India, I may have one view, but the call is not mine. The call is not the military's. The call is a political call, which will be an amalgam of consultation, judgment, and so on and so forth. It cannot be put into a precise definition. It cannot be said, black or white. The doctrine largely says that we have the right to respond. We have shed the strategic restraint of the past because it doesn't work with Pakistan. So that is the Indian way of doing it. The Pakistani, if Pakistan was not even a democracy, if it was a state with the military under firm political control, you would not see these asinine acts. These are acts because what has happened of late? I mean, the Chief of Army Staff has got into some kind of position where he's even more powerful than the Chief of Defense Staff, or some such thing I was reading.
Yeah.
So, put so much, shall we say, power into the office of the Chief of Army Staff, that state ceases to be a state. And the statecraft of that state makes no sense. Now, this is exactly what's happening, where all the stuff to be done is the decision of Asim Munir and the DG ISPAR, and this time he's got a little lucky because Donald Trump has taken fancy to him.
Yep. So, let me ask you a final question. Where would the government's attention need to be right now in the immediate aftermath of what's happened?
So, I mean, see, firstly, as you said, I'm sure there'll be a nationwide alert. Police, the military would be on alert. I tell you, it'll be a very tense line of control, because these things, carry to the tactical and operational edge.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure we would already have plans to respond by force if required to, and if there is political sanction, and those plans would be put into effect.
So you believe the borders will already be on alert? They will be tightened. The LOC will be tense.
Obviously, that happens every time there is a terror attack of that kind. The line of control. I'm not saying there's going to be a major shift in deployment, but people are warned to be careful because this could be, coupled with infiltration, all kinds of stuff. So this is a time to maintain your calm. There is no need for panic. You have a government which is in firm control. It has all kinds of options to control terror within, as also there are options to be exercised externally. And see, the point is that ये जो terror का मसला है, इसको खत्म करना पड़ेगा, this way or that way. It's not going to end just by reasoning with Mr. Asim Munir. It is very much an Israel kind of situation. I have been saying for a while that our situation is graver than Israel. उनके पास तो वो हमास थे, proxies. We have got nation states, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China is a different kind of threat. So it is terror, national security all coming together. And, India is also hardening as a state. एक समय था कि हम थोड़े से नाजुक से थे, अब we are also hardening. We getting smarter in handling hard power and all that kind of stuff. So while it is a gruesome incident, India is too big a state. It has to take in its stride, and we have options worked out.
Right, General Shukla, thank you. We'll let you get back to the rest of your evening or what's left of it. It's a grim night, but as General Shukla was pointing out, a greater tragedy could have been averted here. And, we have to join the dots with the anti-terror operation that busted a major terror module, 2,900 kilos of bomb-making ammonium nitrate recovered along with an assault rifle, a Jammu and Kashmir doctor taken into custody. Thank you very much, General Shukla. My colleague Zafar Iqbal is with us. I see General Kulkarni with us. I'm going to hand over to them. They're going to take you through what we know so far. Good evening, General Kulkarni. Always good to see you. If you've joined us just now, here's what we know. 10 people, at least 10 people have died. 30 are injured in an explosion that took place in a car a little short of 7 p.m. in the capital near Red Fort, more specifically near Gate 1 of the Lal Killa metro station. The two words terror attack have not yet been used officially by anybody in government or the police, but this has all the makings of a terror attack, even though the Home Minister has said that all possible reasons for this explosion are being investigated. And once there is something concrete, it will be placed before the people of the country. The Prime Minister has offered his condolences and has said that he has taken stock of the situation. Opposition leaders have reacted as well. The number of casualties, 10 dead, 30 injured, could rise. If this was a terror attack, which indeed, with all our years of experience, and you've just heard a slew of experts saying that it certainly bears all the markings of one. It was designed to create maximum damage, peak hours near a crowded bazaar at a sensitive time on the eve of the Bihar voting, near multiple places of worship. One of those eyewitnesses saying he was just coming out of a mandir praying when he saw this happen, the Jama Masjid close by. This is classic terror playbook, though I should again hasten to say that it has not yet been called a terror attack by anybody in government. And initially, many people thought it might be a CNG explosion till very graphic videos emerged from the site. The force of the explosion so great that bodies were hurled onto the bonnets of adjoining cars. Several cars were charred, but several people were clearly burnt to death. Ambulance workers have told our colleagues on the ground that bodies have been dismembered and different body parts have had to be recovered by ambulance workers. The high intensity explosion, clearly the dots must be joined with what happened this morning when the police did a press conference saying that an interstate terror module had been busted in a joint operation between Jammu and Kashmir police and Haryana police, leading to hundreds of kilos of bomb-making explosives recovered from Faridabad, which is just on the outskirts of Delhi, along with an assault rifle, a Jammu and Kashmir doctor taken into custody. It is believed by experts that perhaps that entire module was not busted or not caught, and whatever remained of that module, whoever remained may have felt that now that they had been outed, it was their chance to basically use it or lose it, to quote Sushant Sareen earlier on the program. I'm told we have a new statement from the Home Minister. We'll play that out, and then Zafar and General Kulkarni will take us through what we can understand of all that has happened. This is Prime Minister Amit Shah saying, also talking about his conversation and his phone call that he received from Prime Minister Modi. Take a look.
दिल्ली में आज लाल किले के पास करीब शाम को 7 बजे हुंडई i20 कार में एक ब्लास्ट हुआ है और ब्लास्ट के कारण कार और कार के आसपास की 3-4 व्हीकल और खड़े हुए लोग, ऑटो में बैठे हुए लोग इंजर्ड भी हुए हैं और कुछ मृत्यु भी हुई है। अस्पताल के सूत्रों के अनुसार अब तक 8 लोगों की मृत्यु हो चुकी है। कुछ लोग इंजर्ड हैं, उनका इलाज यहां पर चल रहा है। हम सभी एंगल को खुला रखते हुए इसकी गहन जांच शुरू कर दी है। जैसे ही ब्लास्ट की सूचना मिली, दिल्ली पुलिस स्पेशल सेल, क्राइम ब्रांच, एनआईए की टीम, एसपीजी की टीम, एफएसएल की टीम मौके पर पहुंच गई है और सभी प्रकार की जांच हम तेजी से कर रहे हैं। कुछ ही समय में मैं आशा करता हूं कि धमाके का कारण क्या है उसके निर्णय पर हमारी एजेंसियां पहुंच जाएगी और एफएसएल की सीनियर मोस्ट टीम भी यहां पर पहुंची। धमाके की सूचना आने के बाद तुरंत ही माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का मुझे फोन आया था। उसके बाद प्राथमिक इंफॉर्मेशन लेकर मैंने प्रधानमंत्री जी को भी ब्रीफ किया है। अभी यहां से मैं घटनास्थल पर जाने के लिए निकल रहा हूं और कल एक बड़े सवेरे ही सीनियर लोगों की टीम के साथ गृह मंत्रालय में बैठक कर इस
Right. That was Home Minister. It is his second statement since this blast took place. General Kulkarni, when I was watching those visuals, suddenly it flashed in my mind the Pulwama terror attack. You know, when the vehicle was blown into smithereens, the body parts were scattered here and there, person was lying on the ground. So stark resemblances to the Pulwama terror attack. We're not calling it a terror attack yet because that has not been confirmed officially. But look at these visuals. I went to cover that Pulwama. I can tell you that this is similar sort of stark resemblances to that attack, even as the Home Minister, we're told now, has reached the spot after giving that statement. How do you see this development now?
Zafar, very sad. Definitely very, very sad for a very simple reason that, we never expect, and I think a greater tragedy has been averted because ever since morning, a lot of information kept coming from Gujarat, from Faridabad, from Kashmir. So people were alert as to what may happen. Not that anybody expected, but the fact that it did occur around 7 in the evening is indicated the police was ready, and that is why a greater tragedy could be averted. And that it was in a moving car, and that moving car, those slow moving at around in and around the Red Fort metro station, having been I would say will blew itself up or something has gone wrong with the car, with the gas cylinder burst or whatever it be. But the intensity does not speak just about that. It is much more than what had happened, and therefore I think I would say that we must not resort to rumor mongering. That is something which we must totally avoid. And secondly, definitely by morning, investigation would have revealed as to what has this incident led to. Is it a blast or is it a terrorist attack or whatever be so? Because, I would say that
General Kulkarni, hold your thought. You can see on the screen that's the Home Minister at the spot with senior officers of the police and other security agencies. The Home Minister has already spoken with the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has been briefed about this incident. The Home Minister is at the spot. He also said that in the morning he will hold a meeting at the Home Ministry to understand these developments. This happened in the heart of the national capital at a time when the street was packed. It was chock-a-block with the people. And this is an incident that's happened in the national capital. If at all, it's a terror attack. After many, many years, we remember there was a time when there used to be blasts taking place in the national capital and in other states besides J&K. But now there was no such incident happening at all. And this has happened after many years. If at all, it's a terror attack, we don't know as yet. But it's a very big incident that's taken place. General Kulkarni?
Yeah. Whatever we might say, you're absolutely right. For years, nothing untoward has happened in the capital or for that matter in the country. But that mustn't make us complacent. We must be vigilant. We must be careful because these are the times when we all get complacent, hoping that nothing has happened and therefore everything is under control. No, it's a very difficult thing because what's going on in the minds of the people is very, very difficult. And it's after all, a few people might just cause a problem. And what that doctor from Hyderabad in Ahmedabad did, wanting to extract poison out of castor. Then we have someone caught in Faridabad with weapons, with 2,900 kgs of ammonium nitrate, with electronic devices, with an AK-56. And then you have that lady doctor there in connivance, all of them. So all this definitely does point out that vigilance is very important. And well, Pakistan is a neighbor. Pakistan is known to be doing that. And Pakistan is known to be creating rift and fissures within the Indian society. We must stand united. That is something we must ensure, because terror has no religion. It's a terror. So many people who have died there, one still doesn't know who they were. It is not pointed out. The issue, the blast that has taken place, won't have splinters finding a particular religion. So in splinters and in deaths like this, everybody will die, irrespective of religion. Religion has no role to play in this. It's the mind of a particular individual that now needs to be set. And I personally feel that since India has taken up development in a huge way, whether it is in Jammu and Kashmir or across the country, you go everywhere and anywhere, you can see the difference. You can see good roads, you can see infrastructure coming up, you can see good museums coming up, you can see lots of things, housings coming up. So there is an overall development. But yes, expectations are always there, and expectations should be there. And therefore, the more and more ambitions, more and more desires of people will be there. But irrespective of all that, we must ensure that it is our country. And since it is our country, we must protect our country from any nefarious designs being instigated from our neighbor's side. That we must ensure. And we must not at all times be looking at it. It's very important, Zafar, for all of us, not spreading rumors at all. Rumors must not be spread. We must await whatever the report it may be. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it be, doesn't really matter. But yes, vigilance is very important. Use of human intelligence is very important. Use of cyber is very important. There's scientific means of wanting to know what is happening elsewhere.
Right.
The very fact, the synergy between the J&K police, the Haryana police, the Delhi police, the Ahmedabad police, all of it worked so well that since morning we've been hearing about it, but have been controlled. But yes, an incident has happened. Is it a coincidence, or has it actually, because of that a greater tragedy could have been averted? I think all of it. So, but one thing is very, very clear: no rumor mongering, no blaming game. We must await the final investigation and then be able to take proper steps to ensure that in the society nobody creates divisiveness and everybody stays united fighting
General
against terror.
General Kulkarni, when you talk about divisions in the society, hasn't it always backfired for Pakistan? They tried to do it in Pahalgam. They tried to, people were segregated on the basis of religion and they were killed. But that did not divide the society. In fact, that only united the country. So whenever any enemy force tries to divide the country, resorting to terrorism, that has really not helped. That has only united the country. That is what we know. It has historically been the case always.
I must agree with you on this issue that irrespective of what Pakistan has been attempting to do in India, people, irrespective they were Hindus or Muslims, have united. And there is a reason for it, why I'm saying that. You find that so much of effort Pakistan puts in terms of money, in terms of having their overground sleeper cells, this cell, that cell, working. Nothing seems to have worked for years on. This aberration, yes, because they are at it. But within the country, you don't find people. Everybody will condemn terror, irrespective of the religion that he belongs to, irrespective of the place he comes from, irrespective of the state he comes from. He will say terror has to be eliminated. It doesn't matter. Terror has no religion. That is something. And the more Pakistan attempts to do it, the more we get united. Aberrations can always be sorted out. No, what are aberrations? Peanuts. There's nothing very much about it. But yes, what you're saying, I fully agree with you that any attempt by our neighbors wanting to destabilize India, it has only strengthened India, and they have got in turn destabilized. You see Pakistan, what state it is in the last 10 years, pathetic state. You see what's happening in Bangladesh, pathetic state. You see what's happening in India, there's tremendous amount of development. The more we are united, the more people think that they can create divisions within our society. It's impossible to create. It's impossible. We are an old civilization. Religion is very personal. I personally have always felt religion is personal. It has nothing to do with our way of working in India. And it hasn't really affected anybody. But, the media creates that hype. All others create that hype. There's nothing absolutely. You find everybody, everything is normal. It doesn't even come in your head or mind who's driving you, who's your best friend over there. Nothing matters. by whether it is school or in colleges, amongst you, traveling anywhere and everywhere. It has only strengthened, and I sincerely hope that terror need not strengthen India. We must be able to stay united irrespective of terror, irrespective of anything, only because this country belongs to all of us. And that is the most. This
General
country belongs
Kulkarni,
to all of us,
General
and we must be united.
General Kulkarni, since this incident took place, our teams are spanned out. They are on the ground. They are talking to people, and different people are coming up and giving an account of what exactly happened. We got many eyewitness accounts. Some of them we have played. There is another eyewitness account that we want to play now to understand what exactly happened when that car bomb took place.
क्या नाम भैया आपका?
मेरा मन्नू यादव, हम बिहार से हैं भैया जी।
अच्छा मन्नू जी, जब ब्लास्ट हुआ तो आप यहीं थे?
जी, जब जिस टाइम ब्लास्ट हुई उस टाइम हम लाल किला गेट की बगल में ही थे, खीरा खा रहे थे। तो वहाँ टाइम हो रही थी, जिस टाइम ये ब्लास्ट हुई तभी 7 बज रहे थे। 7 बज रहे थे, खीरा हम लोग बैठ के खा रहे थे। इधर बहुत तगड़ी आवाज़ निकली और उसके लपेट में जो भी आए सबको शरीर में आग लग गई, गाड़ी में आग गई, गाड़ी की छितरी उड़ गई। जो आसपास में जितना जो था, मतलब सबको सब कुछ हो गया। और लहास की बात रही, लहास तो 10 से 15 आदमी ने तभी मरा, उसकी चपेट में आने के बाद तभी ख़त्म हो गई। और जो घायल हुई, घायल भी वही 25 से 30 आदमी, 35 बहुत हुई, घायल हुई। ये सब को मतलब गाड़ी की शीशा टूटी, ये टूट के आवाज़ हुई, वो सब आदमी को लगी। और जयपतार भगजड़ होने के बाद जयपतार लोग भागने लगी, कोई उधर भागी, कोई उधर भागी, कोई उधर भागी। उसके लपेट में भी 2 से 3 आदमी की मौत हो गई। लेकिन एक्चुअली मौत तो 10 से 15 आदमी की मौत तो वहीं हुई। हम लोग खुद टेम्पू में लाश को उठा के टेम्पू में दे के भेजवा रहे, लेकिन 10 से 15 मरी है।
आप टेम्पू में डेड बॉडी रखे थे?
जी जी।
तो आपको क्या लग रहा है कि ये बम ब्लास्ट है?
जी, ये तो बम ब्लास्ट है, इसमें तो कुछ कहने वाली बात है, इसमें बम ब्लास्ट है, पूरी ये ब्लास्ट है, बम ब्लास्ट थी। 4 चक्का गाड़ी, जो 4 चक्का गाड़ी में बम थी, वो गाड़ी में भी कोई नहीं था, वो गाड़ी में भी कोई नहीं था, लेकिन ये बम ब्लास्ट थी, ये बम ही थी। ये कोई गैस सिलेंडर और ये कोई बोल रहा है कि गाड़ी का वो होती है जो चलता है, वो सब कुछ नहीं फूटा, ये बम ब्लास्ट ही हुआ।
आप क्या करते हो यहाँ पर?
मैं पानी गाड़ी लगाते हैं यहाँ बगल में जी, 2 रुपये गिलास, और हम लोग यहीं सोते हैं जी। हम लोग पानी गाड़ी आगे लगाते हैं, यहाँ सोते हैं हम लोग। 2 आदमी रहते हैं बस, और हम अभी 2 साल से यहीं सोते हैं हम लोग, और पानी गाड़ी लगाते हैं जी। मैटर ये तो गंभीर हो गई, काहे कि लाल किला के सामने में इतना बड़ा हादसा हुई, लोग तो ऐसे आक्रोश हुई, आक्रोश तो होवे करेगी। लेकिन ये मैं तो सच बोलता हूँ, ये बम ब्लास्ट थी। ये
First respondents, ordinary people who were there, they were the ones who helped those who were injured. They were the ones who moved them towards the hospital. Obviously, this is always what happens. And this man gave a detailed account of what happened. According to him, it was a bomb blast. They tried their best, but nevertheless, many people lost their lives. So many are injured. It's such a shocking incident that's happened in the national capital. I was also thinking that just a few days ago, the National Security Advisor, in fact, said that there are no terror attacks taking place outside of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir, of course, there's a proxy war that is on. The situation has been controlled, but there are sleeper cells. When we talk about terror models, we also cannot miss our sight from sleeper cells. Those sleeper cells that can be activated at any point in time. And this interstate module that has been busted points towards that direction. Don't you think so, General Kulkarni?
See, now what is more important and more revealing and more dangerous is that we cannot say terrorism is because of poverty, terrorism because it is confined to shepherds. It is here. You find intelligent people, doctors, engineers, people who know how to handle stuff. And if they are getting motivated or they are ideologically inclined or radicalized so much, That's the question. That's something we really need to address and see to it as to why is that happening there. Because whoever is influencing them, whichever organization or militant is influencing them, why are they getting influenced? What is influencing them? There is nothing for the doctors. The doctor has studied in China. The fact that he has studied in China, well, imagine how much money is invested in wanting to become a doctor by spending money in to pick up his MBBS degree in China. After having done that, he has to come back to India. Again, he has to give an exam to be able to establish himself and do a practice in India. So it's not easy. So these people are intelligent, very high IQ. And if they are involved into it, I think that we need to address as to why such people with such intellect, with such ability to analyze, examine, see for themselves, why are they coming under this influence? So that is something we all need to really address at. Secondly, what this man said, I think since he said that he's been spending time there for the last 2 years and has seen for himself about 35 odd, so he's almost stating that there aren't many more than 35 because he's almost, since he's there, he knows what's happening in front of his eye. And he's very rightly said between 10 to 15. And everybody is now saying about 10 are already declared dead. So 10 to 15 because he himself has helped bodies being lifted into the tempo and taken them to the hospital. So more or less, things now seem under control. And I don't think there's nothing more than that which might happen. And therefore, by morning, I'm sure we will get to know. But yes, what has happened is very sad. People who have lost their lives is indeed very, very sad. And more than anything else, we have to be careful. We have to be vigilant. And such a thing to happen at a time when everybody in the country thought that everything, situation is under control. They are having a grip. These people who are working probably would not have realized that such people with such intellect would be involved into it. People with such, background would be involved into it. Doctors, especially doctors, wouldn't get involved into it. I think we have to now be careful. And we have always believed in the army, respect all, suspect all. So we must respect everybody, but keep our vigilance. The guard must not be down. We must be careful about it to avert an incident like this because it spreads panic, it creates panic, it leads to unnecessarily, suspecting, doubting, which was happening so well. We are all looking at development, and mind you, nobody wants India to develop. Neither China wants India to develop, neither the United States wants India to develop, nor anybody else wants to develop. But we are still developing, and we are still getting on to the 4th position. We are on to the 3rd position. What does that indicate? That we are a good lot of people. We are a very old civilization. Nothing will divide us. Nothing should divide us. We must get stronger, and all of these divisive things, we must. And it is very important. If we stay united, nobody can do anything to us. These aberrations will remain there. We have to be vigilant. We have to ensure that they're nipped in the bud. The fact that such incidents have not occurred for a decade.
Right. We seem to have lost your audio a bit. If you can hear me, General Kulkarni, can you hear me? Okay. We can play the soundbite of the eyewitness again. The man who helped the people who were injured to move to the hospital. Those are the first respondents, the people who were there, present at that time, who saw the blast happening in front of their eyes. All that they could do is to help those who were hit in that blast.
क्या नाम भैया आपका?
मेरा मन्नू यादव, हम बिहार से हैं भैया जी।
अच्छा मन्नू जी, जब ब्लास्ट हुआ तो आप यहीं थे?
जी, जब जिस टाइम ब्लास्ट हुई उस टाइम हम लाल किला गेट की बगल में ही थे, खीरा खा रहे थे। तो वहाँ टाइम हो रही थी, जिस टाइम ये ब्लास्ट हुई तभी 7 बज रहे थे। 7 बज रहे थे, खीरा हम लोग बैठ के खा रहे थे। इधर बहुत तगड़ी आवाज़ निकली और उसके लपेट में जो भी आए सबको शरीर में आग लग गई, गाड़ी में आग गई, गाड़ी की छितरी उड़ गई। जो आसपास में जितना जो था, मतलब सबको सब कुछ हो गया। और लहास की बात रही, लहास तो 10 से 15 आदमी ने तभी मरा, उसकी चपेट में आने के बाद तभी ख़त्म हो गई। और जो घायल हुई, घायल भी वही 25 से 30 आदमी 35 बहुत हुई, घायल हुई। ये सब तो मतलब गाड़ी की शीशा टूटी, ये टूट के आवाज़ हुई, वो सब आदमी को लगी। और जयपतार भगजड़ होने के बाद जयपतार लोग भागने लगी, कोई उधर भागी, कोई उधर भागी, कोई उधर भागी। उसके लपेट में भी 2 से 3 आदमी की मौत हो गई। लेकिन एक्चुअली मौत तो 10 से 15 आदमी की मौत तो वहीं हुई। हम लोग खुद टेम्पू में लाश को उठा के टेम्पू में दे के भेजवा रहे, लेकिन 10 से 15 मरी है।
आप टेम्पू में डेड बॉडी रखे थे?
जी जी।
तो आपको क्या लग रहा है कि ये बम ब्लास्ट है?
जी, ये तो बम ब्लास्ट है। इसमें तो कुछ कहने वाली बात है, इसमें बम ब्लास्ट है। पूरी ये ब्लास्ट है, बम ब्लास्ट थी। 4 चक्का गाड़ी, जो 4 चक्का गाड़ी में बम थी, वो गाड़ी में भी कोई नहीं था, वो गाड़ी में भी कोई नहीं था, लेकिन ये बम ब्लास्ट थी, ये बम ही थी। ये कोई गैस सिलेंडर और ये कोई बोल रहा है कि गाड़ी का वो होती है जो चलता है, वो सब कुछ नहीं फूटा, ये बम ब्लास्ट ही हुआ।
आप क्या करते हो यहाँ पर?
मैं पानी गाड़ी लगाते हैं यहाँ बगल में जी, 2 रुपये गिलास, और हम लोग यहीं सोते हैं जी। हम लोग पानी गाड़ी आगे लगाते हैं, यहाँ सोते हैं हम लोग। 2 आदमी रहते हैं बस, और हम अभी 2 साल से यहीं सोते हैं हम लोग, और पानी गाड़ी लगाते हैं जी। मैटर ये तो गंभीर हो गई, काहे कि लाल किला के सामने में इतना बड़ा हादसा हुई, लोग तो ऐसे आक्रोश हुई, आक्रोश तो होवे करेगी। लेकिन ये मैं तो सच बोलता हूँ, ये बम ब्लास्ट थी। ये
An eyewitness account recounting that harrowing incident, what exactly happened in the national capital today. A car just blasted, there was an explosion, and there were many other cars in the vicinity that got affected. Many people lost their lives. There are reports that 10 people have died and many others are injured who have been moved to the nearby hospital. The forensic teams are at the spot and they are trying to find out what was the cause of this blast. Nothing has been officially said so far. Every possibility is being looked into, but we will get a clear picture by tomorrow that what was the nature of this blast. Was it a terror attack? Was it something else? All those things will be clear by tomorrow, most probably. But the fact is that it has shaken the national capital as well as its entire country. The intensity of this blast is just massive. You can see on that screen, those are members of NIA, other security agencies. They are also on the spot and investigations are underway. We will keep a close track of this story. But for now, thanks so much for joining in and for watching the Mojo story on this big breaking story that's coming out from the national capital. Thanks for watching. We'll keep a close track of your story and keep updating you on other developments that will happen on it. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.